blind days. Or actually today. Yes.
Avery? Good. Yourself?
Okay, we're going to return to open session. Need a motion and a second to return to open session. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? Roll call, board members.
Brewer. Here. Corrali. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Lamar.
Here.
Oldfield.
Here.
Slack. Here. Stanley.
Yep. Please rise and say the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to remind everyone to put their cell phones on silent, please. We're going to get things started with honor and acknowledgments. Farmington Central Junior High All-Stars. Mr. Upwell.
Good evening. I've got a couple of students here that we selected to be the All-Stars or the Student of the Month for the junior high, and I'd like to acknowledge them at this time. I'd like to start with our 6th grade student, Alana Kiefer, and this is what her teachers have to say about her. Alana is a bright, cheerful, and extremely helpful young woman. She is always willing to step up and be a leader. She is on student council and goes above and beyond to help with planning events such as Red Ribbon Week, school dances, the IAR video, and Teacher Appreciation Week. For that reason, Alana, we've selected you to be the All-Star for the 6th grade. Are you here? That's you. There is a baby here. I told you might have to kiss babies, so you might have to just.
We gotta wait over here. We got all 3 All-Star pictures. Mr. Up.
Our 7th grade student is a young man, Braden Morse. Braden is a great student and participates well in class. He is funny and kind to others. He also steps up to help when needed. He has a good attitude toward the day and goes with the flow. He does not complain and works on projects with enthusiasm. Braden performed a solo in speech this year and was in Science Olympiad, and he also participated in basketball and track. And for those reasons, Braden has been selected the 7th grade student. Our last All-Star that we selected this evening, I don't believe made it back yet. She's participating at the sectional track meet, which was a makeup, and I actually just got a message not too long ago that she threw her personal best in the discus and will be representing our junior high not only in the discus but also in the shot put. Anna Wabel is the 8th grade All-Star, and this is what her teachers have to say about her. Anna is just an all-around amazing young woman. She is intelligent, caring, helpful, insightful, and sassy enough to be fun at the same time. Anna takes initiative in her work, and when she sees an opportunity to improve something, she takes it on with gusto and poise. She has impressed the staff of Farmington Central Junior High School all year long, and she is consistently what we consider to be an all-star student. So when she returns, I'll be sure I get Anna her certificate. I'm honored to acknowledge all of the young men and women. We started in the Summer Academy this year, and I'm just glad that I was able to come to you guys and and show you what some of our top students and some of our great leaders accomplish in our school daily. So thank you all for your time. I'm going to get your guys' picture, all right?
Right now.
Going in front of the clock.
Oh, with your phone? You're not gonna get the picture? Well, those two look, anyway, look good. Get that picture. Yeah, there you go. Congratulations. Thanks, guys. All right.
This time we'd like to recognize Mr. Chuck Myers.
All right. Come on up, Mr. Myers, and I hope I get this right. All right. You've been with the district for 34 years, correct? And within those 34 years, 16 you were the 8th grade sponsor. 15 plus years you were a head teacher at both Chapman and here. The high school science Olympiad you got talked into doing about 18 years ago, is that true? Okay. You're not going to mention any names, guys, tell the story? Huh? All right, but 29 years you did the junior high Olympiad. And officially on the books, you did boys track for 13 years, but how many years have you been doing pole vault? Yes, and you got 2 going to state, or 4 going to state right now. So, and you did you were assistant volleyball coach for 5 years, and you did some junior high track in there.
And baseball.
And baseball. Yes. So share at least one story. It's going to make
Tell me
every.
ahead of time. I'll comment about Braden. This year,
Okay.
Braden had a boom lever.
The what?
A boom lever.
Okay.
Okay? That's supposed to support a certain amount of weight. It held 1,000 times more than it was supposed to hold.
Wow.
And he forgot to put his goggles on when he was doing it, and he got this ball.
Safety first.
He had him on his forehead and forgot to put him down. But the way he responded was phenomenal. And I heard more about how he responded than his power. Or his boom. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I bet there's many more stories
Well,
like
you can
that.
ask BJ. He'll tell you stories.
Yeah.
There's shocking people that have been on my team.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any family here? Or
My wife's here.
I know.
Well, come on! Ruth. All right. Well, we have a little token of our appreciation somewhere hiding here, but we wanted to thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Ruth, you can come around with them and shake all the board members' hands because we really appreciate everything you've done for the district.
People around want to- Thank you. Thank you. Hold back. Yep. Thank you for all your help. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Next up is Rita Hancock.
Come on up, Rita. So Rita, we're going to do some fact checking. You started with the district in September of 1988, okay? And at that time, what position were you?
I was reading it, second grade.
You were second grade reading aid. What building?
New Harris.
New Harris.
And Old Harris stuff, because I changed it. I started out.
Okay. I don't even know what the difference is.
There's middle areas down there.
Oh my goodness. So, and then you switched to the little one. Second grade, they were just too old for you, and so you wanted
My
to go to-
daughter was in the second grade, I went to kindergarten.
Okay, you went to kindergarten.
For a year, and then back.
And then you went back to second grade. So when did you end up with the Bright Future kids?
When the new school.
Okay, so 04, 05, you came out here and you helped out with the breakfast cashier position for a while as well. Did we miss anything in there?
No.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
Do you have any one story or memory you want to share?
You probably wouldn't believe some of them I told you.
I bet. And did you bring anyone with you?
I brought my husband and my son.
Well, you guys gonna come up here or what? Come on. You're gonna introduce them to all of us?
This is my husband, Victor.
Victor,
Been married almost
congratulations.
46 years.
46 years.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And my son, Adam, and he
Adam.
graduated from Farmington also.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you. We have a small token of appreciation. We'll let you go around and shake all the board members' hands, and then we'll let you get your gift so you're not fumbling along with that. Or maybe
Adam dropped the bird.
Thank you
very much. Appreciate your work. At this time, we would like to acknowledge our former board member Ron Seen and our student board member, Avery Mount.
all right. Ron, come on up.
Come on up.
Okay. And Avery, if you can give him around on one leg, you can at least be carrying your gifts while you're at it, right? Good. Okay, so Avery, you're the shortest tenure. You've had a year on your belt as a board member, all right? And you got 3 new ones. This is their first night here. Give these 3 guys some advice, will you?
Don't be afraid to talk about what you're thinking about.
Okay, good. And you've never been, I'll tell you this, I don't know how many times you've been in the principal's office, but you've been in the superintendent's office more than any other student I've been here. And not one of them was for a bad reason. We've always had good discussions, and I've always been able to rely on you and help me out and give me a little advice from the student perspective. So we really appreciate that. And where are you going next year?
I'm going to Illinois State.
That's what I thought. You're going to be a Redbird. So congratulations. And you can make your way around. Right back around. All right. Ron, when did you first come on the board? 4 years ago. 4 years ago. Tell us a little bit about some other service projects you've been in, and organizations and committees you've been on.
In school?
Nope, within the community. You've been on the county board, you've been
Politically, I was a member of the city council for 4 years. I was on the county board for 4 years. I've been doing this for 4 years. Let's see, I've been on the fire department for 24 and a half years. Was a wrestling coach, started the wrestling program 10 years ago. I was a Cub Scout leader for 16 years. I'm a member of the Odd Fellows as well as a couple of the other members. I'm a member of the Masons, I'm a member of the Moose.
That's all. So tell us some of the hallmark things. I know that when I got here, one of the things I knew absolutely zero about until the interview came up was transportation.
Buses.
Buses, yes, buses.
Buses was an issue, we've had issues with the transportation issues we felt in the past. And we thought it was best to try and purchase our own buses, or at least lease our own buses at the time. And it seemed to be more economically sound to have our own buses. And to hire a company to take care of the labor and maintenance on it.
All right, do you have anything else for us?
No, I just would like to take the time to tell the public and wish the new board members good luck, and tell the public thank you for your time and the opportunity to represent you on the board the last 4 years.
Really?
At this time, we'll turn it over to Mr. Flater for the Science Olympiad.
Yes, thank you. It really truly is an honor for me at this point in time in board meetings to introduce our sponsors and coaches that do outstanding work and work with our kids, and our kids excel at the top level. This month it's no different than any other month that we have. And even though we've already recognized him to retire, he's not done yet. I would like to introduce Mr. Jeff Wires in our Science Olympiad program.
4 out of 29 show up. I invited them all. We had a party after school, and I guess they ate too much pizza and they didn't make it. When I was a little concerned when the regionals this year, I didn't know quite how good the team was. I had a lot going on. They surprised me. Didn't they? Both teams won. The junior high medaled in 22 out of 23 events. And the high school medaled in 19 out of 22 events. The 23rd event they didn't have because some supplies didn't show up. Something called protein level, they designed their own protein. So the junior high won. It's like golf, the low score wins. 45 versus 52 to Macomb. Last year Macomb beat us in a tiebreaker. We had a high score, they beat us in a tiebreaker. And this year, the high school, 56 points versus Canton, 79. So we beat us pretty handily, pretty wonderful. So at state, so we qualified to go to state. At state, we had 2 medal winners in the junior high. Lena Horn and Maddie Kelly got 4th place in solar system. And Braden and Luke got 5th in boom lever, like we talked about earlier. So he came through after his regional event that he did. So, and then we had 5 other teams that placed in the top 10. And then in high school, we had 1 team medal, something called Glow Busters. Let Sarah tell you what that means. And they got 5th place, and then Amy Masali and Jack Stevens got 6th place in boom lever. So I'll let them introduce themselves and tell you what they did.
All right, my name is Sarah Stevens. I'm a senior here at Farmington, and I did experimental design, Codebusters, me and Wright do it. I did place 5th in Codebusters at state.
Tell them what the Codebusters is. It's kind of wild.
Codebusters is basically decrypting and encrypting codes to figure out a phrase or a quote from someone. Yeah, we practiced a lot. It was fun.
3-member team.
Yes, Joseph Carbolito, me, and Gavin.
I'm Bree. I'm in 7th grade. I did boom weavers, elastic launch wires, and I remember the one sectional regionals, whatever it's called, in gliders. We got 4th. Those different my goggles on in boom weavers. Otherwise, we would have got first.
You doubled everybody else's score.
Yeah. And boom weavers is basically just an elevated bridge that just holds weight, and you divide its weight times how much it holds. Right.
That's the whole about the master.
Yeah.
And the other mystery architect.
Mr. Architecture is basically you just get a handful of items and you have to build whatever they make or say.
I'm Gavin Mallon. I did astronomy, Fermi questions, and chem lab. Fermi questions is where you have just pencil and paper and a partner, no calculators or anything. You have to figure out rough estimates of wild numbers.
Give me an example.
The star Betelgeuse, which is many times larger than the sun, how many M&Ms it would take to cover the surface area of that star.
And the answer is an exponent.
Yeah, your answer is just the exponent of times 10 to the whatever.
I'm Emily Stidham. I'm a senior here. I did dynamic planet, experimental design, forensics, and anatomy and physiology. They won't forget it. Anatomy and physiology, and yeah, dynamic planet. They're testing events, so like we just take tests, and then experimental design and forensics are lab events.
Not get on that easy.
All right. Now I would also like to introduce somebody who probably does as much for Farmington Central School District as anybody that I've seen in my short time that I've been here. But he's going to discuss the theater and drama department and then Winter Guard. Mr. Ryan Lambert.
We'll start with the theater awards, if you'd like to join me. So to tell you a little bit about our theater program, Larry Eskridge comes to review shows at Farmington and various schools, and then at the end of seeing all the shows, he gives out awards. So this year we were able to produce Clue on Stage, which was brand new this year, and Beauty and the Beast. We had really good attendance at both shows. In Clue, we had about 30 students involved in the company, and then in Beauty and the Beast, we had 150 across the company. So a very large difference. Next year, we kind of hope to raise the bar and do some more complicated technical shows. The kids don't know what the show is yet, but it will be announced on Friday. But regardless, we're here to recognize the Eskridge Awards recipients. We did have a few who could not make it with us tonight, but I still wanted to say what they won to get recognition. Emma Evans, she's at the softball game this evening. She received Best Sense of Vocal Style for Female as LeFou in Beauty and the Beast. Zach Johnson, who's at rehearsal this evening, played Gaston, and he was the Best Scene Stealer for Male in Beauty and the Beast. We also have Best Ensemble Cast for Clue. We had Cast of the Thousands Award for Beauty and the Beast, and we also had Best Set for Clue as well, which is a very large accomplishment. So the students will introduce themselves, their role, and their award. Come on.
I'm Jacob Gibbs. I was the stage manager for Clue and Beauty and the Beast, and I'm the recipient of the Director's Award for Clue.
I'm Logan Archdale. I am assistant stage manager, and I am the recipient for the Director's Award.
My name is Jaden Van Winkle. I was the recipient of Best Female Vocalist for my role as Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast.
Hello, I'm Devin Johnson. I was awarded Best Hero for the role of Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
And I'm Emily Stidham. I played Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and I got Best Heroine.
Great job. Thank you. Great job.
We'll move on to the Winter Guard team. This year our show was Hope, A Story of Survival, that really explored the process someone goes through during breast cancer. It was a hard show to do, but it was one that was technically received and very good. They did really well. To the song Heaven's Not So Far Away, or Not Too Far Away by B3. The team attended 4 competitions up north in the suburbs and championships in LaPorte, Indiana. The scores from the beginning of the competitions to the end, we improved almost 30 points across the course of the season, which is pretty great. We've never really grown that much before. At championships, we're competing against teams such as Mundelein, Lake Zurich, and Stevenson, which are significantly larger than we are. In IHSA sports, usually they're broken down by class, but in Midwest Color Guard circuit, we're just all in sort of thing. This year we were lucky enough Sydney was lucky enough to receive the 2019 Commander's Medallion for her outstanding leadership to the team, the director, and the community. She was nominated by myself and Ms. Platt, who's not able to be here tonight, for everything she has done for Winter Guard. It has grown from something that we just kind of did for fun for a while and then into an actual competition team. She was able to receive this. They only give one Commander's Medallion per year, and it's out of all guards, so over 85 teams they had up for this award, and she received it. It's been a pleasure to have Sydney as part of our guard, and she will be very missed. She did a fantastic job, so congratulations.
I'd like to introduce Ms. Natalie Perry for a presentation on technology.
All right. We've had a lot of great things going on with technology integration at the end of the year. I'll start by recognizing some of our high school staff. They were involved in our April 12th School Improvement Day. On those afternoons, we do training on various topics, and at the high school, our major focus right now is technology as we look forward to next year with one-to-one implementation. So we asked our staff members from the high school who attended the ICE conference in February to present to their colleagues as on topics that they had learned about at the ICE conference. So bringing back that new learning and sharing it out with their staff so that we can get some new things going. So the staff members that were involved in those sessions were Caitlin Clayton from the junior high, Ryan Lambert from the high school. You can come up. I'm not sure how many were able to come this evening, but I know Mr. Lambert's here from his previous presentation. Matt Jensen gave a presentation. Clint Matthewson from the high school. Rich Paul. Myself, Mr. Piper, and Mr. Wickham. Those are just some short blurbs on what each staff member presented on, but we're really grateful for their willingness to step up and present to their peers on what they knew about. It's always very well received when our staff members share, and it was really a great afternoon of learning. So we appreciate them, and thank you, Mr. Lambert, for being here and being recognized.
And yes, you gotta go around the horseshoe. Yes. And honor everyone that presented. Thank you. Yeah, you gotta go around the horseshoe too with Barry and make sure that everybody knows.
I will. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and then the next thing I'd like to recognize is most recently. So last Tuesday, last Tuesday we were fortunate to be represented at the state capitol in Springfield at the Tech 2019 event, which is basically an event where schools from all over the state attend and present kind of science fair style what's going on in the schools with technology. Legislators come and just get an idea of what's going on in the schools with technology so that when legislation comes across the table, there's a face and a picture of what's happening in schools. So our district was represented by 4 students and 2 teachers. So we had Mr. Lambert was present with 2 of his students, Ethan Marble and Sam Fletcher.
Ethan's here. Yeah, Ethan. Come keep Mr. Lambert.
Thanks for coming up. And then FCES, so the elementary, was represented by Joan Harding. And then we had 2 students, which we had Kevin Sampier and Summer Benson who were at the Capitol. So these 2 groups of students, we went up and spent the day, and we were able to look in the morning and see what some other schools were doing. We heard some presentation from some legislators and other students and great things they're doing with technology. And then in the afternoon, they were able to give their presentation and tell our district story of what we're doing in our classrooms with technology, which was really fantastic. On the back of those are some pictures that's a press release that was submitted. Some of our area newspapers will be printing that, but Representative Michael Eunice was there, and he was very excited to see our district and to talk to the kids and find out what they were doing. They did a really great job answering questions, showing off some of the stuff that they've learned this year. So it was a really great event, and we're thankful to have them representing our district.
Thank you. Pretty cool shirt. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job, thank you. Great job, Alan, thank you. Thank you very much.
Ethan.
Now is where we get into the meeting, so if anyone would like to exit, that would be the time. Now we'll move on to our consent agenda. Agenda items 1 through 5 are included on the consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to preserve time on routine items. I think we're familiar with that at this point. So it is not meant to stifle discussion. So if anyone has anything they'd like to discuss, still put those out. So
there's some things I'd like some clarification on. I think we need to vote on separately.
now we need a motion and a second first, and then we can discuss. Right. Okay. So we need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Discussion.
Okay. Just start through the thing here. On page 1, check number 1488, moving of weight equipment from storage to precision auto body. So the location or working
We purchased some equipment and it was being refurbished and
Okay.
need to be painted.
Seems reasonable. On page 3, sensory room equipment.
Yes, we're adding the sensory room. That was part of the restructuring for the social emotional grant that we have when we weren't able to fill the counseling positions. So we had like a guest speaker come in and then some of the sensory equipment.
It's just redoing a room on this building.
It was yes.
Okay. And then this speaker, this was the guy that, I think maybe we talked about it at some point.
Yeah.
Contract over CDS office, is that copying?
Yeah, that's our copier. And that's so we switched contracts from R.K. Dixon, where we had a set number and then we had overages, charges beyond if we went over that amount, to straight CDS. And I did ask a question why it comes as overage, because we get billed monthly. It's like 0.03 cents for black and white, and it's like 0.8, or no, it's 8 cents for color copies, and we just get a bill. based off of the tick counts of it.
So do we have an overage every month? That's an every month?
Yes, every month, yep.
Okay, fair enough. Rental on the bus property, is that also a monthly thing?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have 2 rentals, one for the Hannah City one and then one for the campus here.
Okay, no, I'm boring you to death, but I just want to know.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, this one, category 1 consulting fee from E-rate program, you know what that is?
Yes, so we're eligible for E-rate monies. Actually, I wish Mr. Jensen was here. But anyway, we contract, they write E-rate grant for us. And then we get the monies that we can use for, that we pay for like our internet connection and things like that.
And then their fee is this, 10% or is that?
I'll get back to you on that. I presume I don't know which specific item that is, but we pay, yeah, we pay a fee to them based on the percentage of yields that they bring.
And then, actually, the very last thing I think is the transportation services for Illinois Central. Is that monthly? Is that?
They bill us monthly, and then sometimes we like have some clarification on some of the bills and things like that. So I wouldn't say that we pay it every single month. Sometimes we may have 2 months.
But
it's a monthly bill. Yes.
Okay, that covers my questions. Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else?
Nobody.
All right. Roll call, please.
Frawley.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Marr.
Yes.
Oldfield.
Yes.
Slack.
Yes.
Stanley.
Yep.
Brewer.
Yes.
All right, correspondence. A thank you was received from Jody Shake. Congratulations were sent to Maria Ellison on the birth of her daughter and Kristen Neve on her new baby. Notes were also sent to Pat Marr, lost her brother-in-law, and Harmon. All right. Request for public hearing. The protocol requires a board agenda item pulled from the public to be requested a minimum of 5 days prior to the meeting. However, this does not prohibit individuals from addressing the board publicly within request for public hearing, agenda time frame, within time limits set by board policy. If anyone would like to address the Board of Education, please step to the podium at this time. Seeing no one, we will move on. Item F. Return to closed session if necessary. Came out earlier, I'm pretty sure we don't need it. Okay. G, presentations. Color crew. You're up.
My crew. Hi, I'm Shelby Munger, and I teach 5th grade. I'm the facilitator, basically, for the Farmington Color Cycle Crew. So I'm going to let the students introduce themselves and tell them what their responsibility is in the Color Cycle Crew, and then I'm going to let my new member of our Color Cycle Crew show our brand new website that's been developed this year by him. So.
Hi, my name is Elliot Black, and I'm the website, so I maintain it and make sure everything's up to date. I'm Maxwell, and I am the counter and shipper, so I take the markers from my classroom to the district office.
Hello, my name is Thomas Seaborn. I am a K through 2, kindergarten through 2nd grade, collector of the markers, and I take them back to the classroom.
Hi, I'm Lady Paula, and I am a collector for the junior high and high school, and I check the markers. Hi, I'm Emma Austin, and I collect through the class. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Boyd, and I collect through we can never end the second.
The crew was originally started in the spring of 2015 by a group of students who wanted to take on something for our environment, and that was also kind of related to, that kind of backed up along with our philosophy here at Farmington. And since at the time that was when we were starting with our solar panels, color cycle, Crayola has a very large, I think 30 acre solar farm that they use to power and make millions of their markers every year. So that was also a connection. All right, Elliot, show me your thing.
Alright, so this is our home page, and it kind of tells us about our website and how it got started. On our What Can You Recycle page, we have pictures of recycle, so you basically can recycle any markers. And then in our crew page, we have everybody who put their favorite and pictures. And our markers recycled over 2018 and 2019 are the months that we have shipped to us.
Speak really big and loud, not Elliot, so they can hear that our big
So,
figures.
In September, we collected 500 markers. In November, 500. In February, 1,064. In March, 500. And in April, we collected 1,008 markers. And then over the years that we have recycled, we have recycled in 2014 to 2015, we collected 2,475. In 2016, we collected 3,092 markers. In 2016 to 2017, we collected 3,556 markers. And then in 2017 and 2018, we collected 3,878 markers. And where our markers go, we have a little demonstration. To get played or not.
We have time for, I think it's 3 minutes long, I think. Is the volume, do we have volume? No. I think to date we might be at around 18,000 markers that we have shipped since spring of 2015.
There you go.
Basically, crayons, color cycle program, these markers like these, one box of 2 markers create enough edits to put an egg, make toast, and even 2 cups of hot coffee. Crayola has partnered with a company called Waiting Eye that develops to use this process. It was pioneered here at this plant in Niagara Falls, New York. Also till now, plastic John gave us a tour and explained how the process works.
Alright, this is our processing plant. We have more safety glasses out here. The waste markers that come in first, waste plastic. So over on this bin here, there's some markers. And this bin here as well. This is the way they arrive at the plant. These markers made in colors, styles. They get loaded by something called a tow loader, which will pick them up and dump them into a hopper over here. It's over in the hopper. So, markers get dumped into the hopper with these bins. They're about 600 pounds. That works out to about 60 gallons of fuel. Markers have been carried up the conveyor. The plastic through the conveyor ends up in this first hot tank. We essentially convert the plastic, which is a solid, into a liquid, so we heat it. And the liquefied plastic is made over into this tank, which is even hotter. And this is where the liquid plastic is converted into a usable fuel.
Wow, that's amazing. So what's next?
Next after that is the fuel is condensed in the tower. Let's go tap some fuel. bus, all from a bunch of used Crayola markers. Fantastic. It's a beautiful product. Although probably beginning Thursday, April 22nd, schools can go on to Crayola.com and register for the Color Cycle program. By registering for the program, they can accumulate all of the markers in the course of the year, and Crayola will pay for those markers to be sent here to JUI at the end of the school year. The other nice part of the program is that schools will have access to teacher-written lesson plans that will help teachers to educate students on environmental solutions and social responsibility.
So, students and teachers can help to save the planet right from their classroom. To get started, go to Crayola.com/colorcycle. There's also a link on our website. For Teen Kids News, I'm Carly. And then on our last page is questions, and we have questions. So you can enter your email address, first name, last name, just be a student, parent, or community member. And then you can just type in what you would like to question.
And you got one question?
Yes.
Especially for you students. Do you notice that there's one grade level that donates more markers than another one?
You guys, you're going to be able to answer that one, please, since you guys collect in the hallways. Which hallways tend to,
Which one's more heavy when you pick up the markers?
Hours because preschool, I always like to be more markers. So when we go to collect them, there's like a and then we have to dump them.
Nice.
the one thing that they would like to see, as for our future goals, we'd like to become a local drop-off for markers, because only public schools in the U.S. can ship markers for this program. So we'd like to expand it and become a drop-off so that people around the community can drop markers off so that we can ship them. Crayola pays the shipping on for them, so we don't even have to pay for the shipping.
What would that entail?
I think that this was our first step, was getting our website. That was our main goal this year, was to take that on. And Elliot stepped up to the job, and he did it all. I gave him the data that I collected through the years of the collection and said, here it is. See what you can, show me what you can make with it. And he designed it all on his own. And so that was our first step, so we'd have something to get our word out there to the public. So we're going to have to come together and figure out what was going to be our next step. I do know these guys don't even know it yet, but I just got notification from one of the chairpersons at the Clean Water Celebration. They didn't know I submitted the website to a call to action contest, and they were selected as winners for that. So the chairperson from the Clean Water Celebration will be out on Thursday to acknowledge them, and yeah, they didn't know. I wanted to surprise them, so I'm very proud of that. So.
You, good work.
Thank you very much for your work. Good job. Great presentation. Good job, buddy. Good job.
You,
Great job. Thank you.
good work.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. Great job. Thank you for your work. Good job. Thank you for your work.
All right, back to presentation again. We are on index.
I'm gonna say a little bit closer because I'm gonna make sure I can read this. I know what's happening, but, so majority of this, the organizational health report from this school year. Obviously, we did it 2 years ago for the first time. It kind of was enacted by the board before I came aboard, and Dr. Aspen started it, and I kind of went through the results 2 years ago, and now we're back to going back through it. So I'm going to take you through kind of what it measures, because I know a lot of people, if you weren't here before, you probably don't know what this is, but it's going to measure 10 dimensions of school's health. Basically, how is it functioning? How are people getting along? What's the culture like in your school? The big 3 things that we really worry about are goal focus, cohesiveness, and adaptation. And the reason that we worry about those is these are the 3 that throughout study have shown that they relate closely to student performance. If your school's suffering in these 3, it can affect your students. The other stuff affects your workplace, but these really affect your students. And they're also based on 6 leadership beliefs for administrators. And these provide a framework for improving a building's health. Beliefs 1 and 6 focus on making quality decisions and aligning systems here. So how do we interpret this? The junior high and high school, since we're under new leadership, it's a starting point. And the reason for that is we have new principals there, and your perception of the past meeting the present definitely will affect how your culture is. My wife was asking me about this, and I said, if somebody got a minivan and we asked them how spacious it was, but the first guy drove a Civic, and the second guy drove a school bus, your perception matters there, right? Because of your place of comparison. For the elementary, it'll be a little bit different because Miss Ribbon was here before, so this is her second turnaround, so the information looks a little bit different. Where we are doesn't really matter. That's kind of their theory on this. It's what we do to improve that matters. We want to see improvement in our culture. This is an indicator pointing out strengths and weaknesses of the buildings, and these are the views of teachers within those buildings. For the elementary, this is a measure of growth over the past 2 years. So like I said, that's a little bit different. So I'm talking about the high school first. These are the 3 things that we look at here that affect student achievement. So goal focus, which is going to measure, do our patrons have clarity, acceptance, and support of school? In general, when we look at this, anything over 50% we consider pretty good. Now I know 50% doesn't sound that good, but there is always a big chunk of does not apply or indifferent, and I'll have that listed on some of the other stuff. But we're here doing well, almost 65% for goal focus. For adaptation, doing very well, 72%. This is the ability to tolerate stress and change, which we all know is very important in school, while staying committed to moving the school forward. And then cohesiveness, very good score there, 73%. Patrons have a clear sense of identity in the school. They are influenced by the school and are able to influence it, so they feel like they have a meaningful role in the school. So leadership beliefs. Over here, I put the percentage undecided because some of these are very high, especially because you have new leadership there. So if you look at those, pretty well in all those, we'd like to see choosing to be great and trustworthy and trusting. We'd like to see those get up to 50%. So this comes in strongly agree, strongly disagree in 5 different sections. When I framed it as agree and strongly agree together because it just was too chopped up to understand. I have the real numbers obviously, but it was just too chopped up otherwise. So, but as you can see, pretty good scores as a starting point there for us. Quick takes for the high school. The areas with direct correlation to student achievement are at their highest ranking ever. Now, we won't give them this twice, but I want to pat myself on the back here, so I said highest ever. But they're higher than last time. We'd love to see all areas over 50%. The building had a new administrator that had only been around 3 months at the time of the survey, so like we said, that change effect is in there under this building. The junior high. So you're going to see some really high scores here. Goal focus. 85%. That's extremely high when you think about some of those are undecided. 82% for adaptation and almost 90% in cohesiveness. So things seem to be going well there. If you look at the scores here, like I said, the goal is to be over 50, 84%, 79%, 71, 85, 87, almost 86. I think we need to be leery on this as well, though. I know these scores are really high, and I work with Marvin Fairman, who works for the company Organizational Health, and he said these are some of the highest scores he's seen. And then he cautioned us a little bit on it. I've talked to Mr. Elmore about this, but he's only been here 3 months. The scores are very high, and he said when we're goal setting for this, you want to see improvement, but he said this could almost be almost unattainable. to continue to improve at this rate. So he talked a little bit about next time maybe his would be on a 3-year average or 4-year average and see what those scores are when we average them out. So I think we need to be aware here, even though obviously Mr. Upmore's fantastic, we love him back there, but there could be a honeymoon effect, at that point 3 months into the job. So obviously again in 2 years, we'll check and see where he's at with this. The elementary schools, so this is going to look a little bit different. The Organizational Health Company actually put together the graphs that you're going to see from Ms. Reba because she was a second-time person, so you'll see stamped on here. So for hers, 71% for goal focus, that's a 5% increase, which won't take any time, very good. Adaptation, you're going to see a 14.2% increase, and then in cohesiveness, a 27% increase, which is great. I mean, extremely good in those three. So, and those we're already doing well in those, and then to improve like that, very good. Okay, so this is going to measure the dimensions, and mainly what this is going to show. This is a misprint. I told them that should say 16 and 18, not 17. But on the left, you'll see where it says percentile scores. Those are left off on purpose. And the main reason for that is we just want to see how much we've improved. We don't care where we started. We don't care where we're in. We want to see where we've improved. So you obviously can see in comparison to previous years, the elementary school has improved a lot. Okay, in accordance with where they were before. Me and Ms. Reba have talked about this. We don't want to be misleading. This does not mean that we were at the top. Okay, this just means that's how much we've improved. There's still some work to do, but we're obviously doing a really good job of heading in the right direction. So definitely improvement, but we want to continue to see that improvement. This is an important graph, I think, for you to see. This breaks your school into thirds. People that were favorable toward leadership and people that were unfavorable, and then the middle ground. I think it's important that you see, the reason they have this is some groups will be more vocal than others. Sometimes the negative is more vocal, sometimes the positive is more vocal, but you don't get a true indication. And so what you see here is the blue is where the top third rank themselves. Where they rank the school, I'm sorry, where they rank our leadership. The red is the bottom third. So you see a big disparity there. The important thing is the middle third is the gray, right there across the middle. And then Ms. Reba, when she blindly took the survey before seeing the results, where she thought her staff would be. And really the important thing here, I think that this shows, I'm talking to Marvin, is her awareness of the building. I mean, she's right there with that middle third. She's very aware. So obviously I think a good graph to show the improvement that we made and that middle third moving in the direction we'd like them to be. So you're all, like I said, you're always going to have top and bottom people, but I think you got to look at that middle third to get an understanding of your school. Quick takes, all of these areas are their highest ever. Tremendous improvement in areas that most directly affect student achievement, and obviously that's what we all really care about. All areas showed improvement though. This was an interesting take that I think needs to be shared from Marvin. And Marvin does this, for tons of different schools. And he said that large elementary schools traditionally struggle with organizational health. He said he doesn't know why, he's not sure, but he said this school is functioning at a pretty high level compared to other elementary schools. So I think it's important to understand that high schools and junior highs traditionally do better at organizational health than elementary schools, especially in large elementary schools, for whatever reason. But I've got some theories on it, but I won't share it because it's not real. So those are kind of my quick takes from that. And of course, I'll answer. Oh, sorry. What's next? Building principals are going to set OHI goals within each building. These will be shared. Marvin's kind of walked us through what the next steps are going to be. I've left. I know Missy knows what they are because Ms. Reba knows what they are because she's done this before. I've kind of left our new administrators alone to finish up the school year until we get kids out of here, get things wrapped up, and then we'll talk about what the next steps are with them. But they will set up action plans, and then we'll continue to evaluate the process, and it will be administered again in the 2020-2021 school year. I can answer any questions on this if anybody has any. I know this was an important goal of the previous board, some of you guys were on that board, I guess, when we put this into action with Dr. Aspen.
Anybody have any questions? Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. We did have the Helen Farmer Housing Board, but we are going to table that until the next meeting. So we are on to new business now. Personnel. Dr. Chatterton recommends Denise Strube-Pieper as the district registrar, director of grants, to start May 13th, 2019. We have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of Denise Strube-Pieper as the district registrar, director of grants, to start today, right? May 13th, 2013. Who's first? Al. Discussion? Dr. Caddy?
She's been working in the school system for many years in a neighboring school district. She's a native of Farmington, and she comes highly recommended with some familiarity with our software and platform.
Roll call, please.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lamar?
Yes.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yes.
Brewer?
Yes.
Farrelly?
Yes.
Discretionary leave request by Amanda Wilkinson for the remainder of the school year. Motion and a second to approve the request for leave by Amanda Wilkinson for the remainder of the school year. So moved. Second. Discussion. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Lamar?
Yes.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yes.
Brewer?
Yes.
Farrelly? Yes. Johnson?
Yes. The board also acknowledges the retirement notification of Rita Hankhouse as Bright Futures Aide at the end of this year, Ruth Price as Playground Supervisor, Katie Sexton as FCES teacher at the end of this year, Ryan Lambert as Ski Club sponsor at the end of this year, Matt Jensen as Director of Technology, and Mariah Ellison as a Special Education teacher at the end of the school year. Moving on to Student Handbook. The committee has worked diligently over the past couple of months to review the student handbook for the board to adopt. This is the second reading, at which time it will be formally adopted. A motion and a second to approve the student handbook as presented for the 2019-2020 school year.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Of course, I have questions.
That's fine.
Just clarification is all. I wondered, you know, right inside the front page, they want a signature of a student. Has it ever been discussed having a parent sign that too? Was that a thought process that was said no for a reason, or was that?
I do know that in the handbook, in the past, we've always have had a good parent signature for something. I don't know, there might be another page in there.
I think there's a waiver that goes home. You guys have seen that handbook. wasn't
That
there?
might have been it.
And I don't know if that's still the case or if it.
I know for the
was. I
first
remember
couple
doing
of
it in the
years,
past.
there was a page in the book where your parents signed, but I think now that we can get a paper from the office.
Is that?
Or online, yeah.
Registration.
It's in the sky.
So somewhere else they acknowledge they were.
Skyway.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, it says a limit of 3 days for senior college visit. Is that different than it used to be? Was it 2 or 4? Or I see it's highlighted in red, so I.
There was 2.
I think
It was 2.
Up to 3.
We decided to go up, and then it can still be discussed as to how many additional with approval.
I know that Mr. McMillan kid said that, yeah, you can go on a 4th one.
Sure, that's good. And then the addition made about the weather and the bus routes being different, that is new. Good. Looks good. So I got one more here. Oh, the phone thing, the one-to-one thing, and I don't know who was on this committee, but, I mean, the decision was to, the phone's out of sight, and that's where it's gonna be. Not in the lockers. There was some reason for that. I'm just asking, but I'm curious.
Okay,
What
I'm trying to understand your question.
instead of the rule being the phone has to be out of sight, the phone could have been, the rule could have been in the locker, never be seen, you know what I mean?
Well, there was a lot of discussion
I bet there was.
on how to deal with the cell phone issue. There were some things that are driven more, in previous practice, it's been as long as it was used for educational purposes. Well, that isn't the easiest to go about. The reason I think that we pretty much all came to the conclusion to let it be not during instructional time is because kids need to get a hold of parents possibly when things have changed with their athletic schedule, or things have changed with a few things. So to say it has to be in the locker at all time kind of cuts off that ability, because we don't have pay phones and you can't plug up the office phones.
They know what you're going to learn. That's fine, I was just for clarification, I figured you thought that was, well, I have.
That's basically the whole point of it, correct?
Good. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Littlefield,
Yes.
Slack,
Yes.
Stanley,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Raleigh, Johnson.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Number 3, comfort dog aid, job description. As was discussed last month, the district is considering having a comfort dog on campus when students are present. Comfort dogs are calming and reassuring for students. It would be a great benefit. But the Title IV grant is significant, grant is student support, which a comfort dog and subsequent staffing would allow. Before the board is proposed a first reading of the job description for an aid position that would care for the comfort dog. We need a motion and a second to approve the first reading for a comfort dog aid position.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Any questions on that?
Okay, I'll go for it. Where's the money come from? It's grant money from something?
Yeah, it's through the federal grant that we apply for each year.
Could we do something else with it if we didn't do that?
Yeah, we could.
Okay. In our labor management meeting, there was concerns from the staff about the dog in the building and allergies and such. I think that's a good concern. So I think we need to make sure we got this hashed out and we're all on the same page here. I mean, how much money we're talking about? Can we talk about that?
It would be another support staff position, somewhere along the lines between a supervisor, like lunch monitor, and a student facilitator, somewhere in that range.
Well, what would be our options for other uses for this money? I mean, will we be limited to certain things? Will we have a broader?
Yeah, I mean, you have to apply for the grant. It has to do with, like student support, things like that, so.
Well, I mean, did you not think they voiced some pretty good concerns in that meeting? I think they did. I mean, there was a person in the room that was allergic to dogs, and I think, I personally knew a kid that was 17 years old, and if he saw a dog, he was scared to death. I mean, so I think there are some downsides to this too. And, I'm a little concerned about it, all right? And that's my thing. I think we're bringing something to the school that could add something, but it could do as much harm as it does good. I hope we're on the right spot on that.
Now, if we did have a person that needed a service dog, we'd have a dog here anyway.
Well, I realize that, but that's an unavoidable situation. This is not. This is something we can control. And, it's the board's decision, obviously. But,
Jennifer Holmes here, and when they were training dogs, they would bring them once a week. Did you have any problems with that?
I didn't. There were a couple of kids. It was a hands-off dog. So at that point, the kids weren't allowed because he was training to be a service dog. But there were times that we allowed the kids to come and pet the dog when they had free time. We had a special coat that we took off. And there was a couple kids who kind of sat back and didn't want to play, didn't want to pet each of the dogs, but really we never had that much problem. I never had an allergy problem. I visited all the Bright Future classrooms and a couple of other classrooms and never had any issues.
And it's my understanding that this comfort dog would have been basically a retired service dog, correct?
Reclassified.
So it's already been very well trained.
I don't have any problem with that. Nobody in the room likes dogs any more than I do, I guarantee you that. But,
I don't know, I challenge you.
well, I don't know.
I think I could challenge you more.
All right, maybe the doctor, but, no, I really, I think at least the idea is good, but I think if there are concerns in the building, we gotta take that into consideration. We're bringing something new into the building, and, we don't want uncomfortable people. We got a good environment, we don't want to take it backwards to staff. That's my thought.
I think the concerns are legitimate.
except that I believe, and maybe I'm wrong on this aspect, this dog isn't going to be walking in and out of every classroom. It's going to be for specific needs,
I
correct?
think it says 25% structure, 75% roaming.
Yeah, they could. So I understand the concerns regarding allergies. We have so many allergies that we work within the school setting that I don't see it inhibiting us from having this opportunity. I can't speak to the anxiety component of it. It is there for comfort, so that would be rather counterproductive if we had a large percentage of students with anxiety, but I think in the most part that it would hopefully be comforting.
I think for the most part it would be too. I just worry about the small percentage.
Yeah, and I think we can navigate those waters. And this is still just a first reading to apply for a position that we still don't have the dog for. So, I mean, it'll be back before you again next month for further discussions.
Okay, roll call.
Slack?
No.
Stanley?
No.
Brewer?
Yes.
Raleigh?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Marr?
No.
Oldfield?
Yes. All right, enhancement project, bid approval. Mr. Tyler from Midwest Construction Professionals is here to answer any questions you may have regarding the bid packages that are before you. You want to do a motion in a second now, or have to speak first? I think we'll have him do a little bit of a presentation here first. And for those of you who don't know, Mr. Tyra is our owner's rep. He's our owner's rep from Midwest Construction Professionals. So, Mr. Tyra.
All right, and so I passed out 3 handouts. The first one that I was going to go through is this one. It's a spreadsheet with the different bid packages. So just kind of give you a little background real quick. This was the first bid phase that we had. So essentially it was 2 projects, is how we broke it out. The first project was the locker room concession building, and then the second project was the fitness edition, and then the shop edition. And then also that ended up consisted of a conference room renovation, and then the potential turf exterior fitness area as well. So we ended up, this was it's kind of been a long process. The LDD Architects was the initial architect. They ended up backing out, PCM plus D, and then MEP Engineering came on board, finalized the design, and over the last month, it's been out for bid. So we ended up pushing it back. We extended the bid date about a week. Timing of it was the biggest reason for that, because trying to get making sure we have enough bid coverage for all the different bid packages. We ended up bid last Wednesday. As you can see, we had actually a great turnout from bids, getting some good competitive numbers for all the bid packages. So that's really what this sheet is showing you. I won't go through everything, but it shows you project 1, and then it gives you bid package 01, which is earthwork, site demo, storm sewer. It lists the bidders, and then it gives you the base bid, any combination bids. And then the second page halfway down, you can see Project 2. And really, Project 2 is the two elementary and then the junior high toilet room renovations. So we ended up with 8 bid packages on that. And you can see from the different bids there. So is there any questions with that? I wasn't going to get into too much detail through each of those bid packages. Yep.
Why is there such a big difference on the electrical and
So I talked to Steve Gardner with Overlander Electric. He said they had a mathematical error.
No kidding.
Just a little, yeah, slight one. So he ended up saying, I mean, it's easy to say after the fact. He told me they would have been in the low 300s without that error. At the same time, you know, when you're competitively bidding something, we had a lot of guys, electrical contractors especially, that had their summer blades already full. We tried to get Roy Keith Electric, we tried to get Quick Electric, and a couple other kind of local contractors. Talked to Stan over there at Roy Keith, and I've worked with them in the past. They were just buried, so they couldn't do it. And we kind of saw that across the board on a few different things. So that was the reason for extending it, but we ended up getting very good coverage. And, you know, Zach was at the bid opening as well. So that was that slight error, or the big difference there. Any other questions with that? The next page, what I was going to go through is this spreadsheet. It's a 2-page. It's got the purple highlighted cells. And really, I was going to just kind of skip to the second page and go right down to the center, where it has total construction cost. So our initial BLDD submitted an initial budget early on at the beginning of the project. They were actually on board before we came on board. And we took that budget, refined it, and then once PCM plus D came on board, we ended up getting an updated budget. Between that last updated budget, really the completion of the design, there was quite a few things that changed. The conference room renovation, we added the exterior fitness area, the manufacturing and the woods area, kind of flip-flop spaces. And when we talked with the MEP engineers with BLDD, they had hoped to kind of reuse some of the existing systems. So that ended up not being the case, but really all in all, I mean, I think we got a great facility. PCM plus D did a great job with the completion of the drawings. But with that being said, total construction cost, our final budget was $2,286,000. The bids came in right above $2.5 million, so it's about $250,000 over budget right now. Now, with that being said, there's still a construction contingency of $161,000. And also, there's still, with these bids just coming in, the plan is really to hopefully get approval tonight. And the next steps is really meeting with PCM plus D and EVP engineers and the low bidders and try to work on potential ways to get some value engineering, some cost savings in there, and actually kind of work hand in hand with the building committee and Zach on those. And then if you go down from that center column, total construction costs, then as I mentioned, you have construction contingency, other soft costs. The entire project total is about $3.2 million budgeted, and like I said, we're right just over about $3.4 million right now. And then when you add in those last 3 line items, the softball concession, press box, and dugouts, the baseball concession, press box, and then the outdoor classroom space, the overall total from where we're at with the bids and those budgets, we're just under 4.7 million.
You go back and talk specifically on the first page, because the locker rooms, fitness area, the shop, were all part of the original discussions. And then during the design and discussion phases, the exterior fitness was a topic of discussion that could really enhance the overall projects. That was technically an add-on in this budget. And so skipping all the way down, there's that actual physical additional cost in there, the $120,695. I want to make sure that the entire board was aware that that item is in there. That was not in the original. It's been discussed throughout, but you need to know that that wasn't one of the high priorities when we originally started. And then, just through the design phases, it became very much a reasonable possibility. But that's definitely an add-on to the enhancements that we need to bring to your attention.
And I can add to that, too. Zach's talking about that last turf exterior fitness. We worked with ATG Turf. The budget they had provided was $108,000. Bid came in at $120,000. Now, Hutchinson Engineering ended up providing that turf as part of the design element. So there was additional site demolition, asphalt pavement removal, there was additional grading, there was some storm sewer drainage that tied in around the perimeter of that exterior fitness area, and then there were sidewalks all the way around the perimeter of that as well. So all those pieces are essentially in the numbers up here. The turf is really a separate component. So what that really consists of is the granular fill, the rock base, the drainage that's in it, and then the actual turf itself. So now that's a separate standalone bid. So as a board, I mean, if you ended up making a decision, again, whatever decision you end up making, but that is a standalone piece. And actually, Zach, I didn't have that as one of the, because of that, I didn't have that as one of these recommendations.
Right. But it's on the actual.
Correct.
And it's so
it's in the cost.
Yeah, so it was important to.
It's in that
bring.
Yes.
4 million.
Yep.
So just some clarification. So if we were to take that component out, get rid of the outdoor fitness center, say, some of these other numbers would come down in the top portion as well?
So the way to talk with Hutchinson, the easiest thing to do was to put all that scope together. I mean, all kind of tied together. So if you got a guy coming out here doing earthwork and sidewalk demolition, pavement demolition, there wasn't really a way to make it cost effective to break those out separately. The piece that we could was the turf. So ATG actually came in and they can come in and do a project, and do everything. But they're bringing in probably outside contractors and all this. So in talking to them, their specific trade or that they would be doing, cut that back to the granular, the turf and that drainage. So it wouldn't be, we could go back and break out some of that. Like if you said, we didn't want to do the exterior fitness, we could go back and work with those subcontractors. Have a low concrete guy break out the sidewalk that ties in, at the exterior fitness. There would be some demolition that we could back out of the earthwork package, so we could do that.
Thank you.
Yep, yep.
Any other questions?
Is this one thing or is this two things?
It's two.
Yeah, it's two projects that we have set up.
So we're gonna vote on one thing or two things?
Two things.
Okay, two things.
When are these modifications to be constructed, I guess? Or what was the plan, I guess?
The plan was for summer work to get rolling, which, correct, yeah, yep.
That was the plan, was the.
Well, that's still the plan.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know if it.
No, so really, essentially, you know, when, you know, we do several school projects, we've got several going on, right now. When we go to the board for approval, once we get approval, we've got to finalize the scope reviews and get contracts out to the subcontractors. They need to provide their insurance and then also the payment and performance bond. So with each of these bids, they provided a bid bond. So when we get the contract to them, they get it through their insurance carrier, we get their certificate of insurance, and then we also get their payment performance bond. And that, we can't have anybody on site until we get all that in place. And realistically, that's probably about a week and a half, I would say. And then really, we want to kind of time it with, once we get out here to do the site demo, we want to make sure that we don't do the site demo, get everything ready, and then we're waiting on rebar for the footings and foundations. That's going to be the biggest thing that we're waiting on, so we got to get the timing of that. But yeah, this work it's ready to go, and that was what we talked about with the contractors at the pre-bid meeting. That was how the schedule was issued.
Not being terribly familiar with work like this, these bids, are they locked to these bids, or is this just an estimate and it'll be something?
No, so how we do that, we work with the architects and engineers, and when we get the final set of drawings, we get those out to bid. And they've got to be out for bid, advertising for bid, a minimum of 2 weeks. So within that first week, we take those drawings and specs, and we put together detailed scopes of work with for each one of these bid packages, just to kind of give these contractors a more detail on what they're responsible for. So when they turn in their bid, it's per the drawings, specifications, the scope of work, and any other essentially construction documents. And they're locked in. Okay. Yeah. So is there going to be a change order? There's never a project that doesn't have change orders, but that's also what that contingency construction contingency of $161,000 is for. You know, we're definitely not going into it thinking we're going to spend that whole entire $161,000. So everything we can do up front to get a good set of documents, have a detailed scope of work, and really kind of nail these guys. But I mean, make sure they have an all-inclusive bid that helps us, that helps the school district, and hopefully we're able to have a lot of savings with that contingency. And that just goes back to the district.
What about to furnish this? I mean, is that money, what kind of money are we talking about there?
That's a good question. So if you go to that second page, and down here, you see corner FF&E.
Yep.
So that's a budget for furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the school. So right now you got $147,000. Zach thinks he needs about $7,000. No, I'm joking. But so that's the budget.
Okay. Why do you think the HVAC was so far off the budget?
Well, I think it's kind of twofold. I think the dust collection system ended up being a part of it. The HVAC system initially was thinking that we would reuse, tap into some of the existing systems, but it's pretty much all new. And then a big piece is really the Garber ended up being low, but they're not looking for work. PIPCO, they're not very busy, but they weren't very aggressive with the numbers. So a lot of the HVAC contractors with some of the District 150 schools, they got a ton of HVAC only work. So a lot of contractors are tied up, especially on the HVAC. And that's what you saw with the electrical. Those are two packages that kind of hurt us here. We had that same issue down at Tri-Valley at another school. kind of same thing. I mean, electrical contractors, we were trying to go all over the place to get people to do it, you know, so. I think those are the two, sort of driving factors.
Are those the only two schools you've been bidding?
So Metamore High School, $4 million additional project that starts this summer, starts June 3rd, but it goes up until, you know, after January. We bid about 1.8 million, but it's really just been the structure. It came in about 200 grand under. So right now, we have out for bid the MEPs, interior finishes, and everything else. But it's been a challenge to get the MEPs contractors on board there. Eureka, the middle school we had, it was only 250,000 worth of work, and they came in 60,000 under.
How about in the Champaign?
Champaign, the bid market has been atrocious. I mean, we had an $11 million project, 11.1 million. It came in at about 11.8 million. The biggest thing down there was drywall, drywall, framing, and acoustical work, and there's just a labor shortage. I mean, the market down there, there's tons of work going on. We were actually very good with compared to other schools. Unit 4, Champaign, they had a high school, $2 million budget on their steel. Low bid came in at $3 million. They only had 2 bids. The next bid was 3.5, so they ended up awarding it. And then their Centennial High School, 60 million or 50 to 60 million dollar high school, completely bid, and it's 25% of the budget. So I mean, the market drives. When I see that here,
Have you been in Rushville or anything west yet?
nothing in Rushville yet. We're working with them, but they're ways off.
Okay, just
Yeah.
curious about what kind of
Yeah.
bids. Okay, thank you.
Again, about the timeline, will this project go, like, how long will it go?
We're looking to have these completed by the end of September. Now, the restroom renovation might be done before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had some thought about pulling something out of here?
So, well, let's get clarification on what we're getting bids for. The actual project 1 bid recommendations is for the locker room, the fitness, and the shop, correct?
Correct.
So that's what these bids 1 through 18, we struck 14, correct? Because we're doing the
Yeah.
lockers ourselves.
Yep.
We're gonna do that independent with the local contractor, okay? It is, your project 1 is excluding of the exterior actual turf.
The only exclusion out of that is just the turf.
Yep.
Just that component. Just,
The 120,000.
yep.
Yep, okay. And then the second project 2 bids is strictly for the remodel 2 restrooms, the one in the junior high and the one in the elementary school. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next step after this is to go to buildings and grounds, take away this money and see what's left on these projects, i.e. the actual outdoor turf area, the softball, the baseball, and then the outdoor classroom in comparison to the 865,000, but we still have, you know, we have the auditorium renovations going on, we have, are this project 1 and 2 is inclusive of the remodel? Or, yeah.
Yes. Yes, so that's in here.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, you know how the tech department's got kicked out of?
Yes.
So we have to move them up here to a
And
computer
that is-
lab. That is in project.
Correct. It was never budgeted, but that work is in here.
Okay.
Yep, yep. So you're exactly right. So next, this all goes good. We have our next meeting, the building committee, to sit down and really start working through that. And that's, PCM plus D will have to be there too, or should be there too, to start talking about it.
So can we do that tomorrow night?
Good.
All right.
If you really want to.
Well, at least initial conversation, I think it'd be good to get together tomorrow night. I know that we may not be able to get Will or Jim, I don't know what your availability is, but I think we at least take a little deeper dive at this. I'm gonna get rolling. We're on the clock. So. Anything else? So you want to, you want to do this for your project, school additions and renovations, project 1 and 2, board meeting recommendation. If everybody has this piece of paper?
So this is the one that we're going up.
I'd break it out into, I'd call for 2 motions for project 1 and then.
What will these motions actually instigate? What actual action will come to this?
He starts building.
Okay.
Yeah, we accept, we're accepting this, the bids as proposed, and then he gets on the phone and starts mobilizing people after graduation.
Yeah, and you'd be, I mean, you're gonna be working with how to cut costs.
Absolutely. So to answer your question, first steps are finalize the scope reviews, get contracts out, and then we talk to PCM plus D and engineer 2, but and the sub. So essentially, there's 10% that you can go back and get. When you go back to a contractor, if their bid's $100,000, sticking with that low contractor, it can go up or down 10%. So there's, we have essentially $2.5 million worth of bids, but there's $250 grand worth of potential cost savings that we can go after. It's not us making those decisions, it's us bringing those to you and then kind of working together, seeing, does it make sense to, try to reuse the entire dust collection system, or is it okay having a new ductwork as we're showing? So those are the type of things that we can bring.
To the building and the ground.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, okay, making sure I'm understanding this. If we're bidding, or if we're going ahead saying, yes, we're ready to go with bid package 1, or yes, we're ready to go with bid package 2, or both. Bid package 1 still has only part of an outdoor fitness center.
So the way,
correct?
if it's gonna be project number 1, bid recommendations, if that gets approved, everything's ready to go there with the exception of the turf. We can get that whole area prepped and it'll be ready, but the turf is not getting, right?
Correct.
The turf is a separate component that you guys can still.
So parking lot will be gone, we'll have an area.
You'll have an area there, you'll have sidewalks, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
So are we able to, I mean, obviously, if we say yes to project 1 the way it is, and just, the turf's not in there, but we now will have a space, and if then you go back and say no to the turf, we just have this space that.
You just do change orders. I mean, I'm assuming you just change it
Yeah,
back out.
yeah. So we go back, so before I issued a contract to, I think Autobahn was the low side concrete, we get a value of what is the sidewalk that goes around. Because a portion of that sidewalk is gonna stay in. But there's basically an L shape around that turf area. That, so we would need to find the value of that. We would need to find the value of that demo of the asphalt. So there's certain elements, and we can do that. We're working with these contractors.
Or you can change the surface that you want in there.
You want a different surface, you can still use the space.
Yeah.
For an outdoor living. Just change that surface. Any other questions? Okay. You need a motion and a second to approve the bid package number 1 as presented. So moved. Second.
I personally was under the understanding that we weren't gonna have that board. And I was gonna be part of the phase 2. So
I can't hear you down here, Alex.
So I was under the impression that That wasn't, we weren't doing anything with that outdoor facility at this time. So, I mean, my opinion is, I mean, I think some of this other stuff is good, in my opinion, is that needs to go away.
Okay, well, we've got a motion and a second for that one. And I don't disagree with what you're saying, I think that's. But we can still back that out of there.
Correct.
Yeah, we can still back that out if we choose. It's gonna go back to committee anyway. It's gonna go back to the building and ground committee, and you guys are gonna decide, we're gonna decide what we wanna do with that area anyway. And if we wanna back it out, we'll back it out completely. Because we can back out all that work. I mean, turf isn't in there. Turf isn't in there.
Yeah, we're still approving. That to be done. We're not gonna approve something. That's good.
The-
All that work was in there.
The turf is not in there.
No, I know the turf stuff.
Okay.
The groundwork.
We're pretty well committed to doing it 100%. If we approve it.
No. Did you, we can, I don't have the drawing here, but essentially, let's say this is the turf. So the demo of this parking lot area, we can back out. The concrete around it, we can back out. And that's just a portion of that project one. I mean, the biggest meat to project one is the building additions, components of it. So I mean, there's earthwork there because of the building additions, there's site demo there because of that. It was just an extension of that area to look at potentially adding that curb. So we thought it was a more cost-effective way to look at it too, with being able to have that ATG turf company minimize their scope. So that's what we did, and we had them do the granular base, that drainage, and then the turf. And then the other components of it, Larson Engineering had a design in it, and we put that in these other bid, a couple of these other bid packages. But we can go back and extrapolate those numbers. You know, even if this gets approved, we can still go back and get those numbers out. So,
If you were to separate it out, it would be more expensive, wouldn't it?
if we treat it as two separate projects.
Yeah, it would be,
So it's fair to say.
because it would be two separate projects.
My question is, when and who is going to make the decision to back out of that? Like, if we accept this now, then is it building and grounds that will make the final decision on whether or not to go ahead with that outdoor?
So, good.
Yes, but you can see in discussions, number 2 under discussions, you're gonna turn right around and as a board give input to the building and grounds committee under discussions.
I guess my biggest question is, what I'm asking is, if we accept bid package 1 as it is, and then there's a number of board members that are not on board with an outdoor space, that can be addressed later, and it can be completely backed out of, because we're not approving that portion to be done.
But we are approving it.
But you can back out of it.
Well, what's the mechanism to back it out? What is the mechanism to do that?
The change order?
So we come back to the meeting next month and we pass a motion not to do the outdoor area then? I'm serious, I mean.
It would end up being you got to change order. So you awarded, and this is the project number 1. So we have several different bid packages. So bid package 01 for iron wrestling, contract would be issued to them for $135,000. So we would go back to them and say, all right, we're taking out the turf element portion of it. We need a credit for the asphalt paving removal and then the earthwork pertaining to that area. So we have that number. And then if, as a board, if you don't end up going with that turf, then that ends up becoming a deduct at a later date.
Okay, so that won't actually, those portions won't actually get done or started until we come back to the table. And
We're not gonna,
discuss whether or not to-
it wouldn't be my, yeah, I don't think we should demo that parking lot if you guys are 100% on board with what you want to put back there.
I think
We would
that's the
still-
question we're all having.
If we can make that work, the thing is, yeah, we can make that work.
But, Mr. Knight, you've been.
I apologize.
No, you're fine.
But a couple of people have said more than once that it's going to go to the Building and Grounds Committee and there's going to be value engineering with the engineering to cut costs. This isn't a blank check, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We're not saying that we're turning over that money for that project.
I thought you were.
We're approving this
In order to
package
get-
of work.
In order to get the process begun.
But we can't start until we approve this.
Right, sure.
Package. Correct.
So approving this immediately starts the wheel rolling or not then?
It does.
It'll start the wheel rolling, but it won't break any
But
ground.
we have a time limit though, yeah, it's island, so we don't get the time limit, they're gonna start digging and we'll walk it outside. Well, we're not doing that until, we're not messing with that outside area until we make a decision.
Correct.
Until the board makes a decision.
So
We'll have to come to consensus on that.
Yeah. So really what we'd have to do is get the dollar amounts associated with that entire turf area. There's asphalt demo that's associated with it, there's earthwork, so there's grading in there, and there's sidewalks surrounding it. The turf itself, you have that. But it's those other elements which are really just in three of the 18 bid packages. That's really all we're talking about.
I can tell you, not we can talk about further in the discussion area.
I don't know why. What are the reasons you guys do not want outdoor fitness area? I guess in my.
I'm not sure that it's don't want, it's we haven't really discussed and don't know as much as maybe some of us would like to know about that space, at least in my perspective.
I just didn't know, because everybody was all really concerned about that being mentioned. I just didn't know why, the reason for everybody.
As a student board member, what do you think about the outdoor?
The outdoor fitness area, I personally think it would be nice just to be able to get out. And so when we go outside, there's really only one place for us to go, and it's the track. And all we do is walk and run. It'd be nice to be able to get some fresh air without being limited to just running around the track. Maybe doing some weights or whatever you can do in the outdoor. Just
plyometrics, whatever.
Yeah, whatever that may be. It would be nice to be able to get out there on a nice day. So that's my perspective.
Okay.
Is there any hard no's about it? I mean, is it just all questions looking to get answered, or is there just any hard no's?
Me. I have been since day one. This money was never intended to be used for this. This would retire the bond of the school. My thinking, and some of this is definitely worthwhile. There's some really good projects here. It should have went to the voters in a referendum and been passed that way. That to me, that's a hard no. That's where I'm at. I walked to school with Dr. Chatterton, and there's a need for some of this stuff, clearly. I have no doubt. But it should have went through the taxpayers, through a referendum, and voted on done that way. So just, that's where I'm at on that, period.
Okay.
Did you have
So-
a hard no?
Oh, yeah, I just asked. I mean, it's a good question by Avery. I
think financially, it's somewhat irresponsible. I think all this can be done under normal circumstances, piecemeal all the time, instead of dropping $5 million all at once. And, you look at the budget, we're 1.4 million in negative projected. That's not a good way to be going to spend another $5 million you've reached out in your ab. I think that's pretty irresponsible. And I will vote no because of that. I have no hard feelings with anybody, but that's where I'm at, period.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for bid package number 1. Roll call, please.
Brewer?
Yes.
Frawley? Yes. Johnson?
Yes.
Marr?
No.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Slack?
No.
Stanley?
No.
Okay, now, we have a motion, we need to have a motion and a second for bid package number 2, which is the toilet renovations. And that's all that's on bid package number 2.
Project number 2.
Project, I'm sorry, yeah, you're exactly correct. So a motion, I need a motion and a second for project number 2, which is toilet renovations as presented. So moved.
Second.
Discussion on that.
I have walked the building with Dr. Chad, and there's no doubt this needs to be done. I'm going to vote for this.
Yeah, yeah, I had kids getting parties all the time in junior high. It's not getting back in the restroom, and I couldn't figure out why. Now I know. All right, so we've got the motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Farley?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Marr?
Yes.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yes.
Brewer? Yes.
Mr. Tyler, thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Moving on to number 5, 8th grade field trip to Six Flags. This trip will take place on May 20th, 2019. It is in St. Louis, which requires board approval. Anything out of state always needs board approval. St. Louis is rarely out of state, but it still needs board approval. So I need a motion to second to approve the 2019 8th grade field trip to Six Flags.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, fun trip. Fun trip. I remember being a good trip too. Roll call, please.
Johnson?
Yes.
Marr?
Yep.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yep.
Brewer?
Yes.
Farley?
Yes.
All right, petty cash. As was discussed last month's meeting, it is recommended that we standardize our petty cash practices throughout the district. This proposal is to allow the Farmington Central High School petty cash to be a little higher than all other petty cash in cash boxes within the district. There was no concern for misappropriations, but they felt the standardized process would ensure this good fiscal responsibility. Currently, there are 4 petty cash boxes in the district: high school, junior high, elementary, unit office, with variance of 50 to 150. I need a motion and a second to approve the authorization of petty cash for Farmington Central High School not to exceed $130, or all other petty cash is not to exceed $50.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call.
Marr?
Yes.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yep.
Brewer?
Yes.
Farley? Johnson?
Yes. Seal code. Hutchinson Engineering conducted a request for bids, RFP, to reseal Lot C and security path around campus, along with doing any necessary crack fill work. We were pleased that the successful bid came in under the estimate. Oh, we tabled that. I'll go back.
Yeah, thank you.
I need a motion and a second to approve seal code bid for the summer of 2019 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Who's the second? Thank you.
Discussion.
They're going to crack fill the entire place?
Any problem areas?
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
My apprehension is saying yes, is I don't know how it will coordinate with construction of Lot A. If they're in before, they may do some significant parts, but I wouldn't say that they'll do as good a detailed job as what they
But if they didn't do as much, there'd be some production.
Well, what we've done in the past, we've kind of divided it in thirds, or a rotating basis.
It was unclear whether that meant the area they're working on, or is that the entire thing?
Have you ever gone to other schools and seen what their parking lots look like? Yeah, I almost fell in a lake at West Prairie one time. So we've got the motion second, need roll call.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Stanley?
Yep.
Brewer?
Yes.
Farley?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Marr?
Yes. Bus lease, Mr. Ballas will present the final bid specifications and complete additions that will occur over the summer.
So I think you'll have a contract there. There's 3 different parts to it. The first part, the first sheet that we have is 60,000. Is basically we have a 3-year-old 2017 propane bus that we've been offered a pretty good price to buy back. And the reason it's separate from this is just because we want the audit to look clean. So it's kind of mixed up in here. It could have been presented as a trade-in with all these new buses, but this will make it look a little bit cleaner, so it's all out there. The second portion, broken into two parts, but the second portion is the 14 propane full-size buses that are there. And then the third one, is going to have, I'm sorry, and it also has the gas buses on it, the 3 gas, and I'll explain why we have the 3 gas. And then the last one would be the wheelchair buses, the modified wheelchair, and then the 2 wheelchair buses. So, for those of you wondering, the reason we went with 3 gas buses is basically you're getting propane. Sometimes you have to go to a Menards and find specific places, and we have some longer trips that go into Chicago and into St. Louis, and we do not want our kids driving around, a bus full of kids driving around Chicago neighborhoods looking for propane. So we wanted to make sure we had gas-ready ones so that, you know, just don't want your kids out in those places if you don't have to. So I'm here to answer any questions. I know this is a huge bid or a huge contract here, so any questions that you might have, I'm sure to do my best to answer.
Of course I do. Go ahead. We have, how many buses do we have now?
We own 10. This will actually reduce, but we also lease some that are on 3-year lease that will go back. We'll actually reduce our fleet by 1 bus.
So there's some short-term lease buses that are going back.
Right, yeah.
I'm just trying to figure whether there's no accounting for the.
That will end technically July 1st, so they go back to that.
All right. And then one of the, I mean, I have the LP buses are $9,000 a piece more than.
Yeah, so I actually put it, so why did we choose the propane over the gas? Using the conversion charge, there's a conversion charge that can charge your propane, and at our current mileage of buses, around year 4 or 5 will make up that difference, and then everything on top of that would be savings toward us. So we would actually, according to the chart, which is not exact, but it gives you the best you can do, we'll make up about that $9,000 around year 4 or 5. So our trade-in would be worth a little bit more. On top of that, we'd make our money back with the propane, and we'd also, if we decided to drive them longer, that's just more savings for us on fuel. The big thing is the federal government gives you a refund right now. So as long as that sticks around, which, knock on wood, everybody believes it's going to right now, we actually get a big savings from propane.
And it does look like in 7 years, they just turn the keys over.
Yeah, if you drive it 7 years, it's gonna be yours. So it's a lease, but it's technically kind of a rent to own.
We have a plan for replacement in the future?
Yeah, that's probably the next thing we talked about is how are we gonna cycle these? We gotta look at what's the cheapest, and that's something, you know, obviously you're gonna be on the committee that we're gonna talk about. Try to bring in some outside sources that have done this before and talk about how many of these do we want to cycle through every 5 years, because after 5 years they lose dramatic value. Or do we want to run some? I know I've talked to Mr. Peterson, what's his first name? Wayne Peterson at Dunlap, and he says they've got some Bluebirds that they've driven for 13 years. Now, they don't take the beating that ours do on the roads here, but they've got some that they've driven for 13 years right now, and he said obviously they made their money back beyond what a trade-in would be. That's kind of for us to look at and decide, because we have a really unique district, a very large geographic district, and tough roads and things like that. So those are all things for us to consider, but that's kind of after our initial committee meeting, the next one I want to bring in some outside people. We can try to get ourselves educated a little bit.
And that was, sorry, just because I'm not on transportation, I'm a little fuzzy on that one. Do we cycle, like, because certain bus routes are terrible and certain are really pretty?
We cycle them more based on mileage, so that they try to get equal mileage, if that makes sense.
Okay, but so some of the buses actually are on much worse.
Oh, yeah.
routes.
I mean, definitely.
Those don't get flipped around, those just maybe don't last quite as long.
They can. And that's one thing we've got to look at. Right now, they have cycled them through, but we've got to look at, you know, this is the first time we've owned buses for a long time. And this is my first year doing it, so we've got to really take a look at, is it better for us to protect some of those buses, or is it better for us to cycle them all through? And that's something, like I said, I'm going to bring, I don't know the
Something
answer.
that it's deemed with.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's something I thought about when you're talking about cycling buses. it's something that I've discussed a little bit with Jeff up at the conference in Chicago is, do we, especially on those backcountry roads that I'm very familiar with, do we cycle those through within that 5 years and get them new buses? And you stay away from the longevity aspect of the wear and tear. They're going to be needing ball joints. They're going to be needing all that stuff that the suspension cars that is going to go wrong with them because they're hitting rough gravel roads and things of that nature. So it's definitely something that we're going to talk about. Travis and I will definitely discuss it, and Mr. Vallis. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think I need a good plan with the tag, because you have 18 buses the same age. You don't replace 18 buses.
Yes, no, we definitely don't want to do that, but we do want to rotate them so they are staying more recent, like you said, the 5-year mark is.
And 3 of those obviously won't rotate as much because they're wheelchair buses. So, but definitely, yeah. And the gas ones, we got to figure out. You know, we want them for these trips, but how are we going to rotate them? Because we definitely want to get our mileage out of them as well. So right now we're in a different kind of category because we lease those other buses. So we're obviously trying to take those to the top mileage that we can protect the buses that we own. We're going to be in a different world now owning them all.
What kind of mileage are you talking for here?
If you average it out, the average is 7,971 right now. But that's skewed a little bit because like the wheelchair buses have less. That's an overall average in all of them. So you take that into consideration a little bit as well.
Yeah, but we also have buses that drive a longer distance too.
Oh, yeah.
You got to think about the Kansas City buses. They drive to and from.
And I know
they drive around Kansas City, then back here and back there.
And I know that we swap those out as we get going. Especially right now, there's a ton of swapping going on, mainly because of the lease mileage.
So you're talking about at 5 years trying to do something. There is a clause. You know, you could do something before the 7 years. Is there a big knock for doing that, or is it?
No,
I don't think I'm not.
You can
Well,
trade
I
them
mean,
out.
there's usually, you change your agreement, there's usually some cost.
Yeah.
No, you can trade them out. I actually talked to him about this because I said, if we purchase these buses, let's say our enrollment begins to drop and we don't need a bus. And he said,
Jeff said,
with Bluebird, you can buy back things. He said, we will always buy our buses back because we have a need for them. We will buy used buses and things like that.
But the lease is a better deal than straight up buy. I guess that was the question I had.
yeah. When we did it financially, broke it out, it's better to lease it over the time than just throwing up the money immediately.
When do you get services? Some services from these?
What do you mean services, like warranties?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same warranty either way, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be same
Well,
warranty.
I think to straight up buy that many buses is just such a huge cost to up front. I think this is the main thing.
You're basically getting a loan, more or less.
Yes. Yes. I mean, that's how I would look at it. I would look at it as taking out a loan to buy a car.
Have you looked into what it costs to get one back or anything?
The interest is actually in here and how much we'll pay in interest on each one. I can get you the page here. And obviously it's expensive because of, it's on page 11.
$14,667 over that in 7 years, the way I did it.
I guess one other thing, cost to look at, if we didn't do the 7-year lease, we did the 3-year lease, then we've got to get our kids to school, obviously, so we have to do something. The other thing is, I know like, if you look at it, hey, we're locked in for 7 years at this price. If we did 3 years, we'd obviously need to release again after those 3. From the last 3 years ago to now, the price per bus went up $1,000 to lease. Now, that doesn't mean it'll go up that again, but that's what it did, and I'm sure, I'm not going to argue with that, I guess is what I would say.
Could go more than that.
Yeah.
Where's this Clayton Holdings thing, is my thought is,
I don't know, I can find that out for you.
you know, why can't we get a loan from a local bank and support the community that way?
I don't have a problem with that, I can look into that.
Yeah, that's keep that interest money from the community versus some brand company.
That's if they want it.
I know, some put together package, I just said, here's what we can do, is that.
Yeah, which we've done things similar to that. There's been a few banks around us that are in our community that don't want to deal with it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
Trust our committee will get us down the right road.
no way.
My only concern is time sensitivity. My concern is with the buses. You know, that we pick our kids up, that's.
Any other questions?
I'm sure BJ's done his homework on that.
Yeah. Motion and a second to approve bus lease agreement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, thanks for looking at it. Apologize.
Roll call.
Slack? Stanley?
Yes.
Brewer? Yes. Crowley? Yes. Johnson?
Yes.
Lamar?
Yes.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Technology surplus, as we prepare for summer work and the 1-1 technology implementation, we have surplus materials that we need to partner. Need a motion and a second to declare listed technology department items as surplus.
Second.
Discussion.
It's all computers, laptops, stuff like that.
And like the desk materials, like in the labs get taken out.
How hard is it? Like, sold or some?
Usually we turn it over to the public, they want to bid on it, but I know that we're sending each one of the labs up to Kansas City to the.
The community center.
Yeah. We find good ones. Yeah.
We had discovered that we had, the kids in our Gate City area have a public library, Farmington has the one right out here, and Kansas City has a bookmobile, but they didn't necessarily have the access to technology as our other communities.
And some of them we get, like if they're gonna be more of a burden to people than they have value, they can just be gotten through recycling, proper recycling kit, so. Yeah, that's why it's open-ended in this case. We're gonna open it up for like blind bid, like we did for sheds and such. We'll do that, but sometimes we just declare surplus, whatever most appropriate.
Roll call, please.
Stanley?
Yes.
Brewer? Yes. Crowley? Yes. Johnson?
Yes.
Lamar?
Yes.
Oldfield?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
All right, discussion. Number one, every month, this is May, it's the 5th month, so we're reading the IASB Code of Ethics number 5. I will abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. Number 2, construction.
Number 7.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I need to back up. The solar project on number 7, thanks, Avery. BJ pointed it out to me twice. And I still forgot.
Nobody pays attention to it.
Well, we're tabling it. We're tabling it because Clean Energy Design did not get us the proper materials for tonight, so we could actually put it in the motion. So, thanks, Avery.
I think when you get it, we'll get it right.
Yes. So I'm kind of I'm jumping a little ahead of your discussion, but the solar project has to be approved by the board, and then it has to go to the state. So there may be a need to have another board meeting yet this month if it's due to state by May 30th. So we'll post that, but it also may be if we want to convene a board meeting to discuss the construction projects, which we'll start on next, that might be a good opportunity to take some action, depending on what we get back from the architects and things like that. So there may be a second board meeting yet this month just for those specific purposes. But we'll see where the discussion goes and what the timeline is. If the solar can wait until the June board meeting, we will, but if it's time sensitive, we'll convene for that.
Are you familiar with the solar project?
It's gonna be out there in the back someplace, that's about what I know.
Yeah, a couple different spots, but
Oh, is it? Oh, so I didn't even know.
So there were probably 8 different designs. I mean,
different locations they could have.
We were in on different bids in the lotto for like community solar and all these different things. So there are all these different designs. And the one that we had for this one
maximize the water runoff, the least utilized area, and then a small patch kind of by where the band practice field is, but then it had to be cut up so that they had enough space for the cross-country path to go, and then there was a third section that was along the south edge, but didn't impede upon the FFA plot and allowed for the cross-country circuit. So we were very specific in how we wanted that design to be, and they lost that specific one in the lease agreement, and all the other, everything else lines up with everything else we discussed, but we didn't want you guys to take action without that explicit image like we had agreed to.
And the solar panels that were, actually, again, the ones that are becoming are going to be actually movable. They're going to rotate. Not, yeah, they're not going to rotate up and down. They're going to rotate all of a sudden. It tracks across and tracking panels.
And then also there's pollinators and like the flowers.
Well, that's one thing that we discussed. Well, your grounds discussed it also was the undergrowth. If you go out to North Fulton, they have their solar panels out there in their big field. What they have below it, from I haven't walked out there, what it looks like to me is just grass.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to maintain that.
They just put that there. I mean, that's done long.
Yeah, well, and that's what we didn't want to have isolated just grass there, so we talked to Steve, and he said we put low planet, low pollinating flowers. And what that will do is, one, take care of any maintenance due to it. Two, they won't grow tall enough to affect the solar panels. And three, well, hopefully we'll get some more honeybees around here. So there's, maybe not everybody knows that there's a shortage on honeybees around the nation. So there's a few beekeepers around the area that are wanting more honeybees, and if that can help that'd be great. Also, some of the thoughts are, well, what if we put a beehive out there for some of the FFA students or whoever, we kind of keep our own beehive and maybe make some money, and it's just, all the options are there, but we got to get everything started with the state first, so.
Construction.
So really, we had a lot of discussion within the vote to approve the bids, but I think the board as a collective whole needs to give some guidance to the Building and Grounds Committee just as far as discussions when you go to talk, when they start to meet with the architects and with Chris, as far as, you're not saying yay or nay, or, well, I guess Eric, you kind of said, but you really you gotta give these three committee members some input, so when they're meeting with the architects, like, don't waste their time, don't be getting drawings done up for these things if you really don't think it's something that you can support and things like that. So I guess kind of like the turf thing, if you really don't think that that's something that the district should do, or by golly, well, if you get the concession stand done at the softball, the concession stand done at the baseball, and the outdoor classroom done, then you can think about it if there's money left over, but you got to put the priorities. We still don't talk about the auditorium enough, because we're dual funding the auditorium renovations. We're using some of the construction project money, but we're also using our sales tax money on that. Ryan, I forget what we're looking at roughly. We're looking at $250,000, $230,000 worth of work to be done this summer on renovating that, and we've got some of the money from the sales tax that we can use for that, but some of this money has to go to it too. So give input on where your priorities are now, not that you're saying yay or nay, but give the Building and Grounds Committee some guidance. And with that, I'd like to turn right around, if you guys are comfortable, and wait for 48-hour post and have a Building and Grounds Committee meeting tomorrow night, at least to get in and walk around and look at these spots, as well as I was hoping to have Doug come in as far as just talk about the summer work that's going to be done. Just the general overall summer work that gets done every summer, and be able to walk around and look at that stuff as well. So, there's not going to be any decisions made in tomorrow night, but I think some initial discussions definitely need to be had, and
some direction from all of you would be great.
I can't be here tomorrow night. Excuse me, since I can't be here tomorrow night, I'll share my opinion on the outdoor fitness area. I can tell you when that was first rolled out to because we didn't ask for it. It was one of those things that the architects said, and architects like pretty things. When they get to going, and every project I've ever worked on, they always throw something in and say, hey, what do you think about this? You know, on that one, when they put that up on the board, I know BJ and myself and Kelly through were on the building committee, on the building and grounds committee, and the first thing out of Kelly's mouth was that area will get used a lot, and it will, and that's why we're here. We're here to provide opportunities for our kids, and Avery spoke to that too. When I looked at it, I was like, man, if my kids were younger, I'd be playing with a ball on it every day with my boys. Also, we're in a time when we're trying to attract people to our district, and we have a great district right now. I hear a lot of people in just our campus alone, but we gained 2 teachers last year because they came out and they liked the district. They liked the physical appearance. They liked the culture that we have. That's part of it. I can tell you we're gaining 2 students next year because of the here as well. The students moving in from other districts. So,
Is this student and faculty, I forget? Or just students or just faculty?
I'm sorry,
The area.
Faculty would have access and usage of it outside of the instructional day.
Okay.
So they would come in early and
So be kids
work out
during the
before.
day,
Yeah.
instructors at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would come in and work. When I used to teach, I used to go over to the lab early and run and lift and take a shower and go to class.
Dr. Feder, I direct people to it. I was also going to say something else about the fitness center. I know that currently when people are in the weight room, not everybody's in the weight room. They're often in the hallway too, right outside the weight room, and then blocking the hallway. So if there was an outdoor area, on nice days it wouldn't be all in that
And then you
space.
get all those plyometric boxes down there and things like that.
Yeah.
Those are things that can be done
Those,
outside.
yeah, you can go do those things outside of the medicine balls or whatever. So it would
I
kind
think
of
PE would utilize that. I think you'd have kids on it just about as
We're going to address some of that weight room issue too, though, right? I mean,
well,
The fitness center will address.
with the new fitness center, it will be.
You still
Yeah.
probably
We saw-
would be, yes, your actual square footage, it is a significant increase. I still don't know if there'd be enough room to have free weights going while plyometric activities.
Well, and there's people like doing sprinting exercises down the hallway and
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
in
So-
the tour, we saw that. I mean, they're using the hallway. So, you know, that's a situation.
I just wondered, if they don't have turf on it, is there something else they could put on it? I'm just curious.
I was thinking about grass, but if you put grass in it, now you're mowing it, you're maintaining, and then you're worried about drainage, and then it's muddy, and it's no different than any other grass
Well,
area.
you know the playgrounds that have like a rubber surface, it's not like the chipped up rubber, but it's like
Like the all-weather track?
yeah, kind of like that. You could maybe do something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what the cost is.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
I don't know what the cost
There's
is.
different
I remember we talked about it at one time, and I remember it had been 6-8 months ago. But it seems like, and I don't remember exact numbers, it seems like they're all real close. The ones that we looked at, there were like 4 different surfaces that we could do.
Oh, the track?
No, the area, the outdoor exercise area, there was like 4 different surfaces we could put on it, even cement, because they would cement, which is sidewalk. But they were all really close and right, I don't remember exactly.
Obviously, I believe in this. What you're going to do is it almost has to be turf. I don't know how else to do that.
Right. If it's gonna be fenced in and everything,
Yeah, I don't know how else to do it.
you want to do it free.
Can I, and we can come back to this, but when the original discussions were going on as far as enhancements, the providing restrooms out to the softball field was a significant discussion.
Yes.
We haven't really come back around to that one. We kind of put that in the second portion of this. That hasn't been bid yet. It'll have a little more significant cost than like a boys one would be because of the lift station for the septic and things like that. But is that still a priority for the board? Or,
I have walked that. I stepped it off. If you go from the center of the two softball fields to the concession stand in a straight line, do not go out and around the parking lot, the distance is almost equal to going from the middle of the two baseball fields to the concession stand, believe it or not. So
I believe it.
Yeah, so I think by pouring some sidewalk, maybe opening the fence up, you could eliminate
the access
some of
to
the
the stadium
right.
restroom there.
Yeah, you can make the access a lot closer, you know what I mean? And this lift phone thing sounds expensive, I don't know.
What would it, why couldn't we,
Yeah.
why couldn't we look at changing the layout of the fields themselves?
That's significantly more money.
That'd be more money than the.
You're talking, yeah, more money in the restaurant.
You mean flip it around and
Yeah, 600 has a lot of money.
You gotta change the dugouts, you gotta
You gotta do that anyway, I mean, that's in play anyhow.
Could you situate the fields so that you could use the stadium's bathrooms and concession stand, then you wouldn't have to do any of that.
And then, I'm sorry, and then maybe redirect the walking path?
Yeah.
Because you'd have to do that if you wanted to do that.
This is an idea I was thinking about. I can't imagine it costs more than $680,000 for that.
Well, the lights and the lights.
there are. No lights like that.
And I would like to address that just a little bit with the board members, is that we discussed, you know, that the baseball field does have lights on it, and the softball field does not. The general perception is that during the school, junior high and high school softball fields, softball games go quicker than what baseball games do, and they're not as likely to run into a daylight issue as what a baseball game would be. And I don't even, can you speak to how many times the lights have been on this year?
Twice maybe this year but then again, we're only playing a varsity schedule, we're not playing a JV schedule.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And, I mean, not having spoken about this, our JV season, especially early in the year, gets cut very, very short because they'll get maybe 2 or 3 innings in because there aren't any lights out there. Unless we can play at the same time.
Oh, you're talking about for softball?
Yes.
Yeah, so if they do not have a standalone JV squad, you have to play it at the conclusion of the varsity.
Correct.
It's always inhibited because of the lights.
Correct.
But if you have standalone teams.
Right.
then-
And that's, we can do that with the bigger schools. We can't do it with the like schools in our conference.
Are the two fields up front utilized all the time? Is that the reason to do that there? I mean, that's kind of out of the way. I mean, that's a bad layout.
It was, this is for junior high baseball and high school baseball. So it was designed back in.
Actually, the original design had.
Original design was baseball and softball, varsity baseball, softball.
I was under the impression that the backfield were practice fields.
Well, originally, the very first drawings that come out had the football stadium right there. Okay, so that was where the football stadium was, running east and west. Had all 4 back, just like they do at the major complexes in Clover Lake back here. Well, what I was told by some of the folks that were intimate with it was they wanted to move the baseball and softball up here. And somehow, shape, or form, it got put in there wrong, so they turned it into junior high baseball. If you look at it, it's actually a softball diamond, but it was laid out wrong, and it can't be used as a varsity softball diamond.
The fence was put too far.
Yes, so.
It'd be nice some way to have one nice big concession stand covering all the cheap. Maybe that's not.
Well, it would have been nice if they were all 4 back there, and one would have took care of it.
When you design it, and I'm sorry to speak out because I know this, when you design that, the problem you'll have is you won't get work, if you don't have it to where the workers can watch the game, it won't work. concession stand for like a softball game or a baseball game. And so that does become a significant issue in getting people to staff there. So that kind of gets tricky.
It's always parents that are doing it. That's what we're
Yes.
Yeah, my previous district did that exact thing. It's been
Yeah.
about 400,000 for a concession stand that's never been used, and they constructed a whole new one.
I can see that, though, that actually.
It's a really big deal. In two other schools, yeah, two other school districts that I've been a part of that have done it.
I'm a softball parent, I don't wanna work, I wanna watch my kid play.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't work and watch the game.
Part of the reason that we designed the football concession the way it was, is so the windows open up so you can actually see the football field.
Yeah, I remember when that was a big deal when the architects were drawing this, that it had to be set back for the concessions.
Mr. Lambert?
Sorry. Also, please consider that the marching band does also practice on that backfield. During the summer, it is very hard for them to run back and forth between the bathrooms that are currently at the stadium compared to what would be back there. We have a lot of students, right now during the summer, we usually have an outhouse is what is in place there. So do keep the marching band in mind as well.
And Avery, can you speak to, would you almost prefer not to have access to a porta potty as to have the aroma there when you guys are in practice? I mean, not to get into bad shit.
Yeah,
But
it would be.
yeah, it's bad.
It is bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's even worse for the drum makers because they stand right next to it.
Yeah, that's why I was. Oh, that's why I always thought I was like, hi, it's cool. Anyway, but it's so the softball can use it as well. Okay.
Any more discussion on the building environment?
You know, it just, think it through, do it right once. Don't make the mistakes
I
we made
agree.
previously.
Well, so, wow, okay.
Oh, come on, say it.
No, it just, I don't know, when the architect comes and says, okay, you want us to start drawing these? I don't want him to start drawing.
I'm gonna vote to start getting it done. The girl,
I don't want to say it this way, but the girls have, I don't want to say it's suffered, but they have done without,
But
I didn't say it that way, but yes, the girls have suffered in that
I do
aspect.
like Travis's comment though, but what about if you're planning on dumping that money, can you flip that softball field around and put the home plate, I guess,
Back down this.
you put a home plate, right up by where the security path joins with the parking lot. And you would be hitting the ball, the left field line would be
Down the
due
center.
east, down the security path, and the first base would be due south, straight along the parking lot. Well, it's no different than what we got right now.
baseball, softball, same.
But is that what you're thinking, Travis?
You wouldn't have a set of buildings you wouldn't have to maintain, and
Okay.
you didn't have to have your own, utilize the stadium's facilities.
It would be less expensive than that.
So that would like help with softball, but
That's correct.
Try to do both of them and be one.
Yeah. But then you can just put turf on the stadium and they can use it all at the same time. But I mean,
I don't remember why.
Travis, just for cost savings, my thought would be just to do that for varsity field, so to speak, and leave the.
I've been to a lot of softball games, one weekend where they use those fields.
Well, and the weekend, so that's summer stuff, right? And
Well, the junior high, at least the junior high, I know they have a tournament that they host.
they do start
Early August.
It's early August.
That, they use both fields for that, but I don't know that they use them any other time, that I'm aware of.
We would have this year against Limestone, if we would have played Saturday doubleheader, we would have used both fields. But again, that's a bigger school, and that's not very often in the spring.
Any other contributions for the building and grounds? Yeah.
my only other contribution is I cannot be here tomorrow either. Most of my questions were just that originally when we had voted on the projects, period, that outdoor was not part of it, so I just needed some clarification tonight. I'm not opposed to it. I probably have a couple, I mean, I'd like to think about it before.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's really what
Tomorrow's a little
All right.
early for me to be able to tell you I got
Well,
a set answer on my.
We were just gonna discuss.
Well, yeah, we'll just meet at 5 o'clock, we'll post it, we'll wander around, I'll take notes. I'll say we'll make it available and we'll go from there, but I really think we're gonna end up having to meet as a board again for that May 30th. I know that Steve's gonna get back from vacation with clean energy and, you know, we can make some decisions then. Or at least give it some guidance, I guess. We'll get the, probably invite the architects and such.
But back to the bathrooms, is it something we want to have the architects, or not architects, have Chris figure out what it would cost to turn everything 180, well, yeah.
Well, I'd probably call Hutchinson Engineering to have them
Just
do
price it
that as
out.
far as if there's no need for an architect to draw the fence.
That's why I didn't know who would get it.
I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? Like,
Right.
we don't, I don't think it's
It's drainage work and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's
no.
right. Well, because we do have to think about that drainage there too. Where are we gonna take the water?
Yeah.
We never worry about water sitting in that area, and water does sit in that area.
Yeah.
So we have to worry about it.
we don't need
We
to
can figure
do
that out.
And this is one of those things that, ultimately, there's a lot of things, I understand the need for restrooms and that happens to be done, so.
Okay.
Is Chris coming
Oh, I imagine he was just saying that because you guys were saying that.
We'll see.
I'll try to get him back out here, or at least we may just meet to try to get some structure to some questions for when he does come, he and the architects can come prepared to answer questions. I'll definitely invite him.
All right. Moving on, number 3, student board member. We've emailed all junior students, junior students who ran ads in the high school announcements, but have had only one applicant for student board member. Would the board like to extend applications into the summer or extend the invitation to current sophomores? Now, I can say from experience, the first one we had was a junior.
And she was phenomenal.
And she was really good.
When
So-
did we take away the option for the
I-
sophomores?
I'm not certain, but I'm okay with opening it up on a step-by-step basis, I think. I mean, it's obviously up for discussion, but I mean, I'm okay with opening it up to, you know, incoming seniors. And then if we don't have a good pool of applicants, drop it down to juniors, you know, the next year's juniors.
Why, Avery, would you think nobody would want to do this? I'm surprised.
I'm not really sure.
How do we make it more attractive then? How do we do it?
Is it time constraint that you have to have? I mean, because you're here until 10 o'clock tonight.
It may be the time constraint, maybe just the fact that it's such a formal thing that you have to be going to every month. And probably lack of information, to be quite honest.
So is it not being advertised well to the student body as to what?
Well, not just, I think it's been advertised, like, the option to do it has been advertised, but what you do has not been advertised well.
My perception on that too is, talking with students, there was a lot of initial interest until the students discovered, oh, there's a formal process and we have to fill out an application.
Interview.
Oh, and then we have to interview, and then we have to this, and then the interest all of a sudden began to wane, and some of the initial students that we had conversations with that we thought we maybe should try this, look into this, maybe the interest wasn't there. And so if that's the case, to get a better applicant pool, that might be a good option.
I think it's a little different for me because I actually had attended multiple board meetings before I even knew that there was a position. So,
All right, put an announcement for tomorrow. All sophomores welcome, have at it.
I think maybe giving some more information on what the board member, like the student board member does. that might be a good idea.
How about if we make a video?
Can you work with Mr. McMillan how to market it a little bit? But I think we need to turn around by next week, get some of your So we'll put a deadline of like Monday afternoon and, who's on that?
Not it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are? So then like mid next week, Mr. McMillan gets some interviews lined up and get rolling.
It makes you curious what Avery's telling these kids, doesn't it? Like, oh, don't go with me.
How many people were there last year?
4. We interviewed 4. I mean, it's good training for you guys to get that.
It's just cheap information on how a business meeting is ran. It's
Very much.
It's really just information that you're kind of going to need in the future.
There you go, Avery, you need to sell it for us.
And you too, I mean, I know you don't get to actually vote, but you definitely get a big voice in
For sure.
7 votes.
Well, I've had things that I've talked about that, I don't know if I've swayed anybody's opinions on stuff, but I've definitely feel like I've been heard. So,
We appreciate it.
like, for example, the fitness outside, you guys asked my opinion on it, so it's nice to be able to voice my opinion.
All right, so you got that, Mr. McMillan? You're gonna work with.
He's on it already. I'd say he's on it now.
All right.
All right, curriculum. This has been previously discussed. We are looking to go to a curriculum council format next year. The council would consist of teachers, administration, and school board members meeting monthly to oversee all curricular activities and initiatives within the district. There would be subcommittees that would do the bulk of the work in areas such as elementary reading, but the council would ensure lines of communication are open amongst all.
So I have just a general template, but I really, in order to get this off the ground and rolling, I was planning on having a meeting next week or the following week, and before school lets out at 3:15, 3:30 with the curriculum committee that's of the board and all of the volunteers I've had submit to show interest in the curriculum council and get going for next year. It's just about structure, maybe possibly when we're going to meet, set an August meeting, and I was at that same time. I was also going to invite some of the people that have been working on the elementary reading. It's kind of been a hot button all year. A decision's been, I made a decision, and there's still some concerns for the elementary reading, and I want the, at least the new committee and the potential council to know about it, because this would be a goal that I would strongly encourage the council next year to take on as a goal, so revisit it, so.
That elementary reading can't do that any quicker than that. I mean, that seems like it's a big deal for those teachers.
I cannot foresee an implementation plan that would make it successful.
It takes that long. I don't understand walking through this. I mean, it just takes a while to do this. I mean, Katie's talking like this is something that affects our scores. Not having this. I mean, that's bad. I mean, this is not a new thing either. This has been going on for a while. I mean, we need to get on this. I mean, whatever it takes. I mean, get that committee going. And I mean, you just can't do it that fast. I mean,
Well, there's training on a new program.
I'll just be honest. I'm not convinced that Journeys is the right product line. It's the one that we piloted. It did have some success.
Kay indicated she wasn't convinced that it was maybe the right answer either, but certainly what we have now is not the right answer. I mean,
So we took a whole 6 months just to choose Journeys to pilot. And then we went through a whole 6 months of piloting. So,
well, maybe it's time just to jump in and do something even if this is the right thing. I mean, you're committed for a period of time. Something's better than nothing. I mean, these teachers are
so you'd have to commit to something for about 3 years.
Right.
And what's the cost in committing to?
I would remove that. I mean, yes, it's a big sticker. I would remove that from the discussion as far as what's to do right.
I guess what I'm asking is just to jump in and try something for a minute.
I think that's what you meant by cost.
Oh,
what's the
yeah,
downfall
no,
if it's not?
it's more
Because you
making
said-
sure that all the training's in place and for the teachers to have not only the materials, but the approach and professional development to implement it correctly, or as prescribed. Then you have the whole philosophical discussion of a basal, which is a guided instructional practice as opposed to, just collaboratively working on how to meet standards and access.
I just hate to see the door closed on that, as serious as the teachers think that is. And then when Katie started talking about effective scores, I was really opened my eyes. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
I wouldn't say that the door is closed on it. The implementation of journeys for the 2019-2020 school year is closed.
So are there other options then? I mean, I do think.
Yes, so when the decision was made in March, the teachers were told to work by grade level on whatever supplies they feel that they need to effectively implement their curriculum for the following year. Submit those material orders to Mrs. Reba, and I mean, as long as it's within reason, we'll get it taken care of.
But how's that gonna help with the goals on the curriculum?
Well, one of the key components was that the teacher said that they did not have materials.
Yeah, but if you don't have the curriculum and the list, what you're going to do, like your horizontal and vertical, then how do you know what you need for sure?
Well, they have the standards that they've been teaching to that they're responsible for the outcomes for.
Were they given time to work on this? Have a meeting?
I can at least think of one SIP after, yes, because it was right after.
I don't know, I'm asking.
I don't remember what the decision was, but there's an SIP shortly thereafter.
Why was the door closed on it? Just because we can't get it done in time, or is that?
I didn't feel like the results were there. I mean, we were hem-hawing all the way through December. We said we're gonna make a decision in December. We didn't make a decision in December. We wanted to see what our winter map scores were. Winter map scores come through. They were inconclusive in full support of the kids that were in the pilot, what their scores were compared to the kids that were not in the pilot. That's just one small sample. It just seemed like such a commitment to be imposing on everyone without any definitive charge ahead. Yes, there are some that are very strongly in support of it. I would say that there's even more that are strongly in support of wanting some sort of unified curriculum. And to be honest, our neighbors right up the road to the north tried it, and they're not seeing they're moving away from it.
Nothing's gonna be perfect.
Yeah, and maybe I was a great principal for a while before I jumped into the high school. We dumped journeys to get our test scores up. So a lot of it was scripted, and when we got into the differentiated model, which could cater to a lot of different kids, that's when we really started to see success. And I think that was one of the, I don't mean to step on any toes here with anyone, but as I'm talking with people, it was that sort of movement, even to that differentiated model, that we can meet our high achieving kids and our low achieving kids and our kids in the middle. That's really what they wanted to sort of aim
What
for.
model was it?
What was that?
The name of the model. What did you use to do the program?
We dumped journeys and we went to, we went to iReady. iReady.
What is this?
It's a basal, so you contract with a company, they send you the material, and then they send you the lesson plan script of prescribed instructional sequencing of those materials.
Okay, so it's kind of like you're using this curriculum for all of the students that are.
Yep, in the sequential order, K through 5.
Okay. When they presented to us, it appeared to me that it was kind of limiting. It didn't really. It looked like it was good cookie cutter.
Well, I think you're gonna have that potential. And Kate agreed, it might not be the program for us, but we need to get rolling on something. We can't.
I think that's why this is on here, is that we want to get this committee going.
That's another year out. I mean, how long since we had reading curriculum in elementary school?
Our last one, basal was like 17. And then we did the structure type. right now, I don't think everyone, it needs more.
So, I don't know, personally, I just think, I know that some students learn differently than other students, and if you're saying this is like a cookie cutter,
Yeah, that's
like
like
general for everybody, then I don't think that.
I think with the teachers getting the materials that they're wanting, not necessarily needing, but the ones they want, the ones that will work for them, that might be the first step, at least for right now, to get it going, to get some improvement. Because when you have teachers that are wanting to do, or any employee that's wanting to do it, you give a little bit more reins and let them with their kids. I know that my daughter specifically is a difficult one, and she definitely takes a different approach when her teacher does that. It takes a different approach with reading with hers, so, and it's not a cookie cutter thing or a set objective either.
The premise of this discussion is the concept of the council to be the avenue for all curriculum decisions to be traveled through. So it's not just exclusively, it goes to the curriculum council, which is the board and administration, that makes a recommendation to the board, you guys, vote on it.
You through your curriculum.
So this would be a more collaborative approach.
Well, also another thing, I mentioned also being different and like that sort of thing. Also the teachers. Like teachers teach differently. So if they all get the same materials as everybody else that teaches the same subject, maybe they will use different materials. Or maybe they have some other way that they want to teach that.
And I believe that's the freedom that they have right now, is that they can kind of tailor.
They've been teaching a balanced literacy model for approximately 7-8 years. Before I even came to the district, they had a guided reading specialist. So they do have a balanced literacy model. So they teach to the standards that they have chosen, roughly core standards that we put together for the standards-based report card over 5 years ago. So that's how that is designed. There is an entire guided reading library. We use Myon. We use other digital resources as well for teachers who need those differentiated levels. And the writing model fits right in with that. So they already reading levels, then kids are doing stations of writing and other specific instructional skills, or not instructional skills, reading skills that they practice in that, and then we do whole group instructions. And then over the last 2-3 years, because of new social studies and science standards, and then trying to fit that all into an elementary curriculum, they've been working on how to get that nonfiction piece into the reading block, just to kind of help with the time constraints of teaching nonfiction along with literary skills, because all of those are important to testing as well.
Okay. Number 5, activities, department update. Ruben Guyon he's provided our athletic training services for many years. He's relocating. Mr. Flater,
Yes,
an
thank
update
you.
on that.
Yes, as Mr. Johnson said, Dr. Ruben Guyon has been providing our athletic training service for a long time. He's done a great job with our kids and has really provided a great touch. Unfortunately, he's relocating his practice and he's moving down south. So subsequently, we're going to be looking for ATC coverage, athletic training coverage. So over the next month or so, I'm going to be doing research with other ATC providers, and then I'll be making a recommendation in the next couple of months on what we're going to be doing. Part of that is what are our specific needs, what are our hours. There's going to be some things that are written into what we need. Not everybody can do that. There's a couple companies locally, but we're going to reach out to as many different vendors as we can. In addition to that, we're going to look at some other contracts we have with outside vendors, such as our drug testing vendor, which is Movex, and then I'll be making some similar recommendations regarding that as well.
Well, I know that Ruben was really close. Will the kids have this, do you suspect the kids will have the same access to availability like they did with, because he came every Tuesday, Thursday?
Yeah, he came every once a week, other than the games that he was at, that he covered. But that's going to be part of that expectation or package that we're going to try to write in, is that they are accessible. And, you know, we have Grant, we have OSF, you know, just in Peoria, Athletico, and in fact, a couple weeks ago, I did have a conversation with Athletico, which is a very large company. They have 5 offices in Peoria. They're all over. So there are a variety of vendors that we're going to be looking at, trying to get their best bang for the buck.
Thank you. Board meeting formatting. Are there new members of the board joining us? As our school year comes to a close, it's a good time to discuss any formatting adjustments we would like to consider. For the summer we will be working with the association to look at our procedures, so now would be a good time to take any consideration to them for feedback. Any kind of format changes you'd like to see?
Sure. Yeah, I would like to move the closed session middle of the meeting, into the meeting like we're talking about a little bit. We won't talk about this a little bit. It speeds things up maybe a little bit, makes a nice transparency piece. And,
I'll second that, because I like, the thing is our closed sessions have gotten much shorter as time has gone. I mean, when I was first on the board, we'd have, I don't know, how long were the closed sessions? An hour and a half? They seem a little long. I mean, you guys, the administrators should go watch the ball games. Because we've been there for so long.
We'd be here till, I mean, meetings would start at 7, and we would be here till about 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30.
So, yeah, I think we can probably, does anybody have any, my initial thinking was starting at 6, and then have that closed session, start the open meeting at 6, do our regular meeting, and then have that closed session somewhere.
I was gonna say start earlier. Okay, just ask. So unless administration had a specific purpose for being a closed session, was there a reason for having them stay?
They say it again.
Was there, I guess in my previous.
I guess it's well, I think it was expected. I mean,
Right where it is now. Expected.
Before presentations, it's before.
Yeah.
Right. So if you had closed session at the end, would there be a reason for an administrator to stay unless there's an explicit item in there that they need to address?
So could we, anybody opposed to having it right at the end?
Well, originally we scheduled it when we did so that the person with the camera wouldn't have to stay so late and people viewing. It had to do with it being recorded.
we actually be quicker this way than the other one.
I don't know.
Live stream.
Just, it had to do with the recording of the meeting. That's why I started it.
I can think of a couple meetings where we were done in 10 minutes, and
Well, we canceled.
I agree.
yeah, we've had times we have really started a meeting without open session or without the closed session.
So do you
That
want
was
to?
just the reasoning when we did that.
So do you want to move? Do you want to move the start time up 6:30?
I'd say so.
6:30 I can do, but it's, I mean, I can take off early to get here for, I mean, we normally start closed session at 6:30. Start the meeting at 6:30.
All right, so meeting, is everybody good with, I mean, let's say that we're gonna do this for like June and July, and then we'll decide for August during the school year. Yeah, well, it'll give us some time to work with the association as well. So we'll start the June meeting at 6:30. How about any of the formatting of it? We'll obviously need to move the personnel section to after closed session. Okay. Okay, so personnel till after.
So that move all new business to after?
No, only.
Just personnel, or just personnel of that, it's like gonna figure that out.
I guess if there's a, well, yeah, that's all.
You can go to closed session anytime if you want to, you just gotta make the motion to do it. If
Yeah.
something reasonably has to be done.
Okay. Any other format changes that you made?
Not format, we've talked about a lot of other little things, you wanna get into that now? You wanna put that-
Well, he was just wondering about how to set up the actual agenda that's made public. I was just gonna take agendas to the association.
Oh, no, I think that's fine, that's perfect, see what they say, because, we need to be on the right track there, we get sidetracked. But like, put in, these kids tonight all walk through here, and they've done great things. Nobody knows about it unless you were here in the room, right? Get that in the shopper, right, get that in the shopper somehow.
Shopper's expensive.
It is.
It's already on, it's already on. It's flashing right now on the picture.
Yeah, and that's good, And then there's, things go on here, and the awards night, that is fantastic. It is, it is awesome. Oh, yeah, you were there, yeah. If that was in the shopper, maybe some more people can come watch that, because that is something that doesn't happen anywhere. You don't see groups give away that much money.
I reference that, it's incredible.
It really is.
And the meeting is live streamed through YouTube,
Sure, yeah.
YouTube channel, so anyone can watch it live right now from home.
From here.
So,
Yeah, and I had, Zach and I talked about this, I really was hoping there's some of the student government involved here, meeting people, telling them how it's gonna go, running through some stuff, but we can't even get a student member on the board, so maybe I was totally off on that.
We got one candidate.
One, but no, I thought it'd be great if our student government people were here and to greet and hand out flyers and tell how this is all gonna work, and make people comfortable at the meeting, you know what I mean? But that may be totally, I may be way out on that.
And it's all time commitment too, for the kids, the students.
It's a pretty good size group, though.
And it doesn't necessarily have to just be student government, it can be any other group. Pharmacy,
Yeah,
student government,
sure.
there's NHS, there's tons of other groups that do volunteer work in the school that you can have students come, and it doesn't have to be the same one every time either.
There you go. It just, I think the idea of the kids being involved in this is a really good opportunity. I think Kelly talked about that. Why would somebody, why are there not 10 people in this job? This is a great idea.
Yeah, I don't.
all right. Any other suggestions? Anything else?
What about, reporting out of, like, committee work and things like that? From the board and things like that?
Yeah, so, and that was actually one thing that I had thought about too.
Because right now, I mean, under the discussion, I kind of
Exactly.
I would take all that up, and I don't mind. I
I'd
mean,
really
it's
like
probably-
for each committee to have that spokesperson who
I think that
kind of gives a, just bullet points of, hey, this is what we talked about at the last committee meeting.
So
And-
you,
And we really try to follow that committee format.
so do you want me to, list in the discussions, just all the committees, and then, like, if they had a meeting that month or whatever, they could just, it's as a placeholder?
Yeah.
That's the way the city council.
That would have been helpful on the whole building,
And whoever's on your committees, if you want me to choose the spokesperson, that's fine. But I think of whoever's on your committee, you guys just kind of talk amongst yourselves and figure out who's going to give that presentation.
Avery, I also want to remember the student board member, maybe, like, do some sort of thing where they give a report on, not anything long or anything, just kind of what the students feel about certain issues that are going on in the school. And have just like a portion of the meeting where the student can, like, say, somebody gives them the agenda for the next meeting, and they go out and they get some of the students' opinions on the issues. they write those down and they can present it to the board. And that way it's not just what I interpret them thinking, it's actually them saying it to me and I'm getting an actual opinion from them.
How, do you have any suggestions on how that student board member could have a broad canvassing of opinion and not just, we naturally go to
your
those
friends.
Yeah.
Do you have a student newspaper here?
No.
No.
Don't think so.
Some sort of poll on Facebook.
We can do that. There could be something, like a Google form. Yeah, that would actually be good. Send it out to all the students and kind of get their feedback. And it might be a little bit time consuming, but go through all the responses, but.
I'll increase our applicants. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't tell them.
Keep that quiet.
You might lose the one you have.
Keep that out of your video.
But it would just be a cool thing to be able to, I get to put my input into the discussion, but to have my own section where I get to have my say in what's going on.
You just did.
Well, true.
But I get where you're coming from. This is the most you've ever talked in a meeting.
That is true.
I agree. It built, so by the time you were ready to leave, you're comfortable with speaking
Yeah, and I
with
think
all of
with
us.
that section of being able to have my own section where it's mine, it would have been there all along. I could have been way more comfortable.
Kind of forces you into that early on. Yeah, no, I get it. And you watch this with every student.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's
I'm
pressure
sure.
by the end, and then everybody's comfortable. So, no, that's a good suggestion.
All right. I got something to work with.
All right. Next regular board meeting, Monday,
6:30.
at 6:30.
I'm not sure that.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought, I knew that, that's why we recognized you tonight. Did you tell me that? Or they know us?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
All right, so, yeah.
I think you did tell us that.
I can check my schedule, but I might not be able to be here.
All right. Entertain a motion in a second to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.